on TNN. It's the Pontiac Excitement 300 ASA stock car racing from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hi, I'm Dave Burns, and with the season winding down, every race is critical. Coming up, we'll tell you who's hot in the ASA.
And I'm Sandy Heng. The excitement is building here at Hawkeye Downs. ASA set a new track record today, and coming up, you'll meet the driver and his crew chief and learn his secrets to success.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen along with Jim Trado. And once we throw the green flag, we've got a couple other stories for you to follow here tonight. The 7-time champion, Mike Eddy, still searching unbelievably so for his first win in 1997. And Brad Loney, a local hero right here from Cedar Rapids, he won the last race at I-70 just a week ago. Jim, he might go 2 for 2 and really get this crowd screaming tonight.
And 1997 is turning out to be a record season. Brad Loney became the 10th different winner in 16 starts in 1997 to visit victory lane. And with today's running in qualifications, we've had 9 different drivers set the pace in qualifications.
Hawkeye Downs Speedway is the only paved half mile in the entire state of Iowa. And all their stock car fans have come right here to watch the Pontiac Excitement 300 coming up next live on TNN Motorsports.
And a warm welcome to you from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the Hawkeye Downs Speedway. Dave Burns and Sandy Heng. Glad that you joined us for the second time in 1997 here on a Friday night.
We are about 30 minutes away from the green flag dropping, and there are 32 cars in the field and a lot of anxious drivers who want to take that checkered flag tonight.
And last time we came here, Kevin Sawinski did. Scott Hansen and Gary St. Amant were close in tow, but tonight things may be a little bit different. St. Amant qualified well, but Sawinski and Hansen, they had a little trouble, and we'll cover that.
Well, as the season is winding down, the competition is getting oh so much closer, and the drivers who've worked so hard to climb onto the top are trying to stay there. Currently 10th in points, veteran Harold Fair has 8 top 10 finishes, including his best effort since '94, 3rd place at Jennerstown. This year's second leading money winner, Mike Miller, has 2 wins to his credit, but coupled with 5 DNFs, finds himself in 8th. Steve Carlson has taken the checkers once and has a commanding lead in the race for Rookie of the Year. If Dave Sensiba hasn't won an ASA race, it's not for lack of understanding how you get there. Finish races. Through 6 events, Dave was the only driver to have completed every lap possible, placing him 2nd in points. Then 2 hard crashes at IRP and I-70 balanced the accomplishment. Undeterred by subsequent knee surgery, the team nearly won at Berlin and sat on the pole at Milwaukee. Rick Beebe has a subplot all his own during the '97 title chase. Rick and the team narrowly missed their first victory, not once, but twice, before beating everyone to the checkers at the historic Berlin Raceway in August. And starting up front, 3 poles, finishing up front, and you deserve a 4th place point ranking. When Scott Hansen was bad in 1997, he was still pretty good, but a noticeable swing took place when he shed the unfamiliar Pontiac body for a Chevrolet Monte Carlo skin. Hansen's average finish improved 2 pole positions, and he picked up his first 2 poles of the season and a drought-ending win at the Minnesota State Fair. If not for Kevin Sawinski, Gary St. Amant would be the points leader. The aggressor, Gary, has qualified outside the top 10 only once all year, and he's driven to 3 victories. As the patient points earner, he's notched 6 non-win top 5 finishes and managed to lead at least 1 lap in 13 of 16 events. Still within striking distance of the championship, the bridesmaid of '96 appears to be repeating in '97. After rewriting the rookie records of 1996, Kevin Sawinski and the LeFevre Racing team knew they had a shot at the '97 championship, but not even they could have predicted their dominance in the first half of the season. 3 wins, 6 podium finishes, an average starting position of 4th, 1,026 laps led, and a huge 226-point lead over the nearest challenger. Not as superior lately. You can call an average finish of 8th a slump if you want. Sawinski still leads St. Amant by almost 200 points. While the team proved last week they could be bitten by racing luck, it doesn't appear that fate will steal their hard-earned crown.
Of course, we race because that does remain to be seen, and there you see Kevin Sawinski at the top of the point stack, the other top 5 listed there as well. And with only 4 races remaining in 1997, every race for these guys is critical. Tonight, we'll show you who, at the right time, is in the groove. With 3 podium finishes in a row, Scott Hansen has gained 81 points on second place Gary St. Amant. Bob Sineker is red hot with 4 top 5s in a row, including a drought-ending win at Milwaukee. The sneaker knows the groove at Hawkeye Downs. He's finished either first or second in 4 of 5 tries. Brad Loney is riding the momentum from his victory last week at I-70. He's back at his home track tonight, the site of his only ASA pole. Brandon Sperling highlighted his 4 top 10 finishes in a row with a career-best runner-up effort at I-70. With the season winding down, it's a great time for these drivers to be in the groove. Well, they've been in the groove just recently, but all season long, Jim Trado and Ralph Shaheen have been in the groove, and by golly, they're going to call the racing action tonight here at Hawkeye Downs. Ralph?
Thank you, Dave. And once again, this was a one-day show for the AC-Delco Challenge Series teams, and that meant that everybody got here early this morning. They had 2.5 hours for practice, and right after that, we went into qualifying. And that's where we got the first taste of what we might see later on here tonight, as everybody's attention focused on one of Cedar Rapids' own. Brad Loney, the young man that won the last race out with the AC-Delco Challenge Series at I-70 Speedway. He left the half mile at 18.84 miles an hour, or time I should say, 95 miles an hour. He'll start third today.
And the driver who qualified second overall out of 38 cars for the 7th time on the front row is Gary St. Amant, the Win Chevrolet at 18.793 seconds.
But the man that wins the pole tonight is a man who will probably take the Pat Shout Rookie of the Year award, Steve Carlson, 18.6 at 96.3 miles an hour. Now here's a look at the rest of the top 10. And the things that are kind of interesting in here, I think, Jim, are Scott Hansen at the back end of this top 10, but I also like Jack Landis and Kevin Noodleman sitting 4th and 5th. That's pretty interesting.
Career best for Jack Landis. He qualified 6th earlier this season, but really has to put together here tonight. And Kevin Noodleman, in his 3rd ASA start here at Hawkeye Downs, has put it together. This is his 9th career ASA start, but you see Jack Landis starting 4th. Really has a great starting spot with these veterans up front.
I was a little surprised to see Landis run that well, because he's a guy who tends to like high banks, not flat turns like we have here. Noodleman, they think they have found something in the front end of this race car with the suspension. His brother Toby working on this car. It's the same thing that Tony Raines utilized at Minnesota, and we saw how dominant Tony Raines was there. Maybe tonight's a night for Toby Noodleman to win.
Kevin Noodleman does have a lot of laps here in super late model competition as well, so he's one of the many stories here tonight in the Pontiac Excitement 300.
That's a look at the top 10 in qualifying. Now, there's some other people we need to show you. In fact, there's one driver who leads the AC-Delco Challenge Series point standings. He is qualified 19th tonight. We'll introduce you to Kevin Sawinski and the LaFavor Racing Team when we come back to Hawkeye Downs right after these words. Stay with us.
2 weeks before Christmas 1995, the LaFavor Motorsports team as we know it today did not exist. One day after Christmas 95, Kevin Sawinski was moving to Lakeville, Minnesota, and the next year, 1996, his LaFavor Motorsports team won the Rookie of the Year. This year, they're looking to become the champions. How and what is their secret to success?
It's just a combination of a unbelievable motor program. The Port City chassis are very responsive.
But I was very fortunate to bring Mike on board, and you know, Mike Chaffee really has run this whole program. This has been his show. I trust him impeccably, and it's his deal to run it.
When I come here, it was a benefit for me, because in all the years of my own, I always had, you know, somebody's used motors, or I had an old chassis. So this gave me the best shot to show what talent I had.
First time I sat down with Kevin and we talked, and you know, I could just see the commitment and the drive, the fire in his eye, I guess I would say. And he was, just something about him.
Kevin has been great for me because I'm kind of a hyper, can get down on myself, get a little overexcited, and Kevin is really even keel, calm all the time.
He puts total trust in both myself and Mike. We don't see Scott very often around the shop, and which it makes everybody on the team feel that he has a lot of confidence in what they're doing.
I insist upon perfection, and Mike and Kevin both do also. We all know what we expect from each other. We all hold up our end of the deal consistently. Whether we finish first in a race or 15th in a race, knowing that we've given it 110% on that given day is all each and every one of us expect from the other.
And they'll be expecting the same thing again tonight. He's got the fans in the stands ready to cheer him on here. But Kevin, you qualified 19th today. It's your worst of the season, yet you were fast in practice. What happened between practice and qualifying?
Well, we just missed the setup on this Tecumseh Motorsports Pontiac. We were working all afternoon on a good race setup, and I think we definitely got one. And, we just overlooked qualifying a little bit. And in between the sprinkles and the weather changes, we didn't keep up with the car. And I think if the fans stick around and watch the race tonight, that they're going to see one heck of a show, because we're definitely going to the front.
I have a feeling your fans aren't going anywhere. Now, you've been contending for a championship in the past with the Regional Arco Series. Now it's National. Now it's with ASA. And with the DNF last week, your first one of the season, and this qualifying effort this week, I mean, is that scaring you at all? Can you handle the pressure?
Well, not really. We had a big points lead of over 220 points going into I-70. And, we had the DNF, but we still finished 15th with the DNF and lost only 30 points. So we got a 194-point lead and 4 races to go, so we got to really be careful and not have any more DNFs, which I think we're really looking forward to coming on and finishing the season strong.
One thing we've seen all season is Kevin has been confident in the cockpit. Surrounding him is a fiberglass body. All the ASA cars have them. How do they get there? Where do they come from? When we come back, we'll introduce you to 5-star stock car bodies and the way that they make the fiberglass ASA bodies for every competitor on the series.
The Pontiac Excitement 300, brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that anything can happen at Miller time, and by Quaker State, the quality your car deserves.
In the past, we've looked at ASA engines and chassis. In this week's Dialed In, we're going to go to 5-star stock car bodies in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. They are the sole provider of the American Speed Association's fiberglass body panels. ASA claims they have the closest in appearance to showroom models. Let's take a look at how the process works and how they will put the body together once they get the 1998 Ford Taurus delivered.
We usually get the car several months up to almost a year before it's released for sale to the public. And it's usually a test car, but the body's still intact, and we'll get that car here, and we'll take molds off of certain areas. From there, we'll make parts out of the molds, fiberglass parts out of the molds that we can alter and fit the race car.
Once we get the mold and it's finished, we take it to the gel coat. Gel coat sprays the mold up, 12 to 18 mils of white gel coat. It takes about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to cure, and then the part is taken to the glass cutting area. After Mary has cut the glass and fitted each part, the part then moves into our laminating area. We use a different type of resin. It's a high-grade class 1 fire retardant resin, and they'll hand lay up the part and then move it into our wet trim area, to where it comes to a gel, and it's trimmed with a knife. Then the part is moved into a curing area for 18 to 20 hours, 24 hours sometimes. The longer the better, of course, and then demolded usually the next day, and the whole system starts over again.
We make the body complete. It's like a one-stop shopping center. You can get the plastic noses and bumper covers we make here for the short track cars. We make the body installation kits. You can get all the tubing, You can get the preformed windows, wooden templates, steel bumpers, the graphics, headlight stickers. You can get it all.
In 1978, five-star fabricating was just two guys, Fran Preste and Carl Schultz, making body panels for their own race car. Then they started selling them slowly but surely. Now they have 80 employees and 80,000 square feet making bodies for stock cars throughout the country. Let's go back down to Dave Burns.
Thanks, Jim. Now, some of you may be wondering, is there life before racing? Well, there sure was for Ted Smokestad. It included college hockey and high school baseball, where he was all region and all conference, and even played his senior year in right field as a starter. But I wondered, could Ted Smokestad still hit the home run? We're on location today here in Richfield, Minnesota. Dave Burns pitching for the crew.
And Ted Smokestad here batting for Richfield High School Spartans and all of us fellow ASA drivers.
Now, if you've seen Ted hit and you've seen me pitch, you know that I'm really outmatched today. But the question is, how many swings of the bat, Ted, will it take for you to put it over the fence?
Well, Dave, I haven't hit a baseball in 9 years.
Yeah, likely story.
So it'd be great if you give me 10 cuts at her.
10 swings for Ted, and if you win or if I win, what's our wager today?
Well, if I win, I get to do a little bit of your job. If you win, we'll find a job for you on the Smokestad Motorsports Pontiac team.
Sounds fair to me. Oh, he rips! That would be a base hit. That's it. I'm history. You win. Fine, fine. Mic up a little bit.
Mic it up.
There you go. Cool.
Hi, this is Ted Smokestad, new commentator for TNN Motorsports, visiting today with Dave Burns, new wheel washer at Smokestad Motorsports. We're standing out here in center field at Richfield High School, where I took the long ball off of Dave Burns today. One victory for ASA drivers.
Yeah, so Ted went yard on me. Okay, that's fine, but you got to remember I'm getting old. Ted, played baseball, played hockey, loved them both. What was it about stock car racing that really just sucked you away from those sports and drew you in?
Well, the biggest thing, Dave, is Dad brought me into the sport at a real young age. I love baseball and hockey to death, but who wouldn't choose racing over any other sport? It's great. We love it.
I know I have, so... You want to say hi to somebody at home?
I want to say hi to Alec Pinsino out there. He's been a great friend to us this year. We really miss you this weekend, buddy, and hope you're feeling a little better, and we'll see you next week at Jennerstown.
Alex mending from some injuries last week at I-70 Speedway. When we come back, Sandy Heng is going to tell us about an ASA legend. It's crew chief Howie Ledow.
Every racing series has stars and the people behind the scenes that make those stars shine. Crew Chief Howie Ledow is one of the kind of people that can electrify a team with his own brand of calm and consistency.
Did you back off some of that last lap? No.
He is often quiet yet cunning. He inspires and innovates.
3078.
And since he began crew chiefing for ASA teams 16 summers ago, Howie Ledow has helped many young drivers find victory lane. The likes of Scott Hansen, Tony Raines, and Ted Musgrave.
When I see a guy like Ted or Tony, you know, that moves up to another division or whatever and is successful at it, you take some satisfaction knowing that you had maybe had a little bit to do with that. You know,
he's a guy that, like I say, can take just a bunch of clay and mold a excellent driver and a championship driver out of a person.
Set stagger right away and see what we got.
Trackside, Howie is known as a problem solver, willing to share his expertise.
If you're struggling at a certain track and he's got more experience there, nobody's afraid to go up and ask him because they know how he will help them out.
I'm learning that, I tell you, for a guy coming from a late model division or a different division into the ASA, the competition, number one, is just so tough. and it seems like it's gone up another notch this year.
This year, he's working with rookie Steve Carlson.
Well, that's kind of why I took this deal, because I know that the Baker team can get the job done.
30-09.
I don't know. I've enjoyed this, you know, I've been racing a long time now on that, and I've had some offers to go down south. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed this series. I hope this series can keep going.
And they will keep going. They're already hatching plans, great plans for next year. Howie's with me now on the starting grid. You have a fast car tonight, faster than practice. What did you do to find that speed?
Well, we did a little, we made a spring change. We were pretty fast right off the trailer, and made a spring change in the car, did a little more tweaking with the shocks and so on, and Steve did a great job qualifying, you know, put the clean burn Trop Arctic Pontiac on the pole. Especially, it's nice to have it on the pole for a Pontiac sponsored race, and so far everything's been going good. All we got to do now is go out and win the race tonight and be a great night.
Well, you're in a position to do it. Thanks for joining us, Howie. Let out. You know, when we come back, you've got to grab your popcorn, grab your beverage of choice, because when we come back, we're going to be starting engines.
Well, we showed you a lot of the players here tonight at Hawkeye Downs. I want to show you one more. It's Kevin Noodleman. And why is he going to be good tonight? Well, they found a lot of things, as Jim mentioned already, in the car. This is a match to the car that Tony Raines ran so well with at Minnesota, and they think it's going to be good here tonight. Plus, Kevin has a lot of laps on these tracks, so watch out for the number 21 with Citgo on its hood. Sandy Hang?
Well, this is another car to watch. It's the car of Mike Garvey. He's 16th in points, and slowly but surely, he has been climbing his way up in the points. He's 10th in laps led. And I tell you what, he is very hungry for a win tonight. He already has 2. He wants to make it 3 for the season. Let's go up top now to Jim Trado and Ralph Shaheen.
Thank you, Sandy. You know, the last race we had with the AC-Delco Challenge Series just a week ago at I-70 Speedway, a lot of bumping and banging, and Jim, a lot of tension spilled over after the races. We come here to Hawkeye Downs, a racetrack that's known for basically the same kind of racing. The last time we were here, 15 caution flags and a lot of bumping and banging. Kind of got to wonder what we're going to see here tonight, and that might mean that the door might open for somebody new to get a victory.
And there are drivers hungry for their first win. There's drivers that want to get back on track with some victories. As we see here, Brandon Sperling, he finished second a race ago. He is on the threshold of winning his first race. Ted Smokestead's had outstanding runs. Dave Sensiba has finished second 4 times. The perennial bridesmaid in ASA, looking for his first win. Then you have Zach Landis qualifying 4th tonight. And rookie Tim Sauter is really trying to find his way in the series.
And for the 3rd time this year, Tim Sauter's behind the wheel of a new race car for him. But there's also a couple of drivers who have not won yet in 1997, and there's one driver who desperately needs to find his way into victory lane, and that's Mike Eddy with a drought of 31 races.
Then you have drivers like Steve Holtzhausen, Joe Knott, who has yet to win a race this season. Junior Hanley has not won since 1990 in this series, so those drivers are hungry for a win as well to get back on the winning track.
And there is a look at the 7-time champion who is looking for that first win here in 1997 to end that drought of 31 races. Let's head back downstairs to Sandy Hang, who is standing by with the man who will lead the field to the green flag here tonight.
First, you've got to read this. Unless you're the lead dog, the scenery never changes. That is the plate that is inside Steve Carlson's car. His team put it there, and you know, you're not going to have to worry about the scenery because you're going to have it all in front of you. What kind of tricks did you have up your sleeve to qualify so well?
Well, we just had a good car, a real good crew. I've also got a lot of laps on this track. I've run a lot of weekly shows here several years ago, and I've run a lot of specials here.
A lot of weekly shows, and you've been successful in those shows, and it shows here today. Let's go now to the starting grid with my colleague, Dave Burns.
And we're standing by, getting ready to get the racing started. All of us getting in here on the checkered flag starting line here, which is where we'll get things going here with Don Taylor, who is the group manager for GM Motorsports, oval track racing in particular. And Don, you get the honor tonight of starting this thing off.
On behalf of General Motors, gentlemen, start your engines!
on TNN. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your select GM Goodwrench Service Plus dealers. The plus means better. Hawkeye Down Speedway. Cedar Rapids, Iowa is where we are at tonight for the Pontiac Excitement 300. The weather here tonight was really iffy earlier this morning. We've had sprinkles all day long. It's a cool 66 degrees outside, a little bit of wind, chance of showers, but they say it's getting better as we go later into the evening. So the odds are pretty good. We're going to be able to get it all in for you here tonight at Hawkeye Down. Let's take a look at the grid for the Pontiac Excitement 300 here tonight. As the field is out warming up the engines, row 1 will look like this. Steve Carlson with a track record here in his Pontiac, 96.3 miles an hour. He'll have Gary St. Amant, man who sits second in the point standings, right alongside of it.
Coming off his second career victory, Brad Loney in the Bun Saver Pontiac in front of a hometown crowd will line up inside Jack Landis out of Edgerton, Ohio, and Noah Yoder's Ford.
Kevin Noodleman did what they found in the front end. Will that make a difference here tonight? Maybe he can get a win. And Ted Smokestad looking pretty good playing baseball. How can he do here tonight in the race car?
Mike Eddy will try to end that 31-race winless streak from the 7th position in the GM Goodwrench Service Plus Pontiac to his outside, the Truck Country Metro Milwaukee Auto Auction Pontiac Grand Prix of Mike Garvey.
Row 5, Brandon Sperling coming off of a second-place finish last weekend. He'll be on the inside, and Scott Hansen in his Chevrolet on the outside, driving for Kenny Schrader Racing.
The 1994 winner of the Pontiac Excitement 300, Steve Holtzhausen, will line up inside row 6 to his outside, Rick Beebe, picking up his first win earlier this season at Berlin Raceway in Michigan.
Then it's Mike Miller in the Pontiac. We thought last weekend was going to be his last race. He found some money from the folks at Old Milwaukee. He is racing here with us tonight. Joe Knott was in the middle of some controversy last week. How will that play out here tonight?
In his third of 4 starts in the 55 car is Bobby Gill out of Dalton, Georgia, in the Leo Motorsports Pontiac. His outside, Chevrolet brought in Jimmy Johnson, the off-road racer out of El Cajon, California. He'll start the number 4 car of Bud Gevin outside row 8.
Harold Fair in the Pontiac out of Detroit, car number 81. And Dave Zensba still looking for his first ever career win. Went a little bit too hard in qualifying. He says he's got a good race car ready to go racing.
Kevin Sawinski, the series point leader, will have to start from inside row number 10. Outside of him, Mound, Minnesota's Paul Payne, who loves this racetrack.
Bob Seneca, the driver of the Bluebird, the winningest driver in ASA history, has 83 career wins. He's on the inside, one of the greatest ever out of Canada, Junior Hanley in his Chevrolet car 72.
Starting 23rd will be Mike Hofer out of McKinney, Texas, in the Black & Decker Versapack Chevrolet. To his outside, the Zero Hero Tom Jones in his own Pontiac.
Another one of Cedar Rapids' own, Johnny Spa, the driver of the 03 Pontiac, and sprint car driver turned ASA racer Billy Turner in the number 58 Pontiac. They finished 1 and 2 in the last chance race earlier today.
Established road racer Chuck Hemmington out of Des Moines, Iowa, will start inside of that row. Outside of row 14 will be Kurt Martin in a car formerly owned by Eddie Sharp. He'll put that Ford outside row 14 on the grid.
And Justin Dierks and Tim Sauter will make up row 15. Tim filling in for Alec Pinsino, who is back home feeling a little stiff and sore after going upside down at I-70 Speedway. Alec, we hope you're doing all right. Look forward to seeing you back here at the races soon.
Rounding out this 32-car field will be Doug Mayer in the no-touch car care Chevrolet. Outside of him, Carol Adamy in the University of Nebraska Chevrolet.
That is your field for the Pontiac Excitement 300 as we get set to get this one underway. Huge crowd always on hand here at Hawkeye Downs. They love their ASA racing here. It's a half mile, and as we said, Jim, in the open of the show, not really steeply banked.
It's only a 7-degree banking in turns 1 and 2. The interesting thing is as they come down the back straightaway, we'll see 2 groups of racing because of the compound banking in turns 3 and 4. It varies from 5 to 7 degrees on the racetrack. Bob Seneca told me before the race, once we get going green, we'll be way down on the apron in turn number 3, and we'll continue to get lower as the race goes on.
Race analysis of this one, 17 Pontiac, 6 Fords, and 9 Chevrolets will make up the 32-car field. 300 laps around the half mile or 150 miles. And as we told you, Steve Carlson is the pole winner with a new track record here tonight.
A lot of Kevin Sawinski fans here, a lot of Brad Loney fans to cheer on their favorite drivers.
Ready to go? Pontiac Excitement coming to the green flag. back straightaway into turn 3. Brad Loney sneaking up on the inside, trying to get inside of Gary St. Amant. That's the fight for second. St. Amant in the orange and black number 7. Loney in the blue and white number 33. Carlson out front. Noodleman closing in the Sitco 21. He's running in 4th. Jack Landis is in 5th. Smokestad 6th. Then Mike Garvey. And then a good side-by-side battle between Mike Eddy and Scott Hansen. That's the fight for 8th.
You're clear.
You hear some of the spotters talking back and forth to their drivers. That's Steve Holzhausen's crew.
Kevin Noodleman moving into the 3rd position in that Midwest Fuels Pontiac. His brother Toby Noodleman, longtime crew chief with Steve Holzhausen, and Tony Raines recently this season, and Dick Trickle.
Spin it forward. Your car's down low.
And those cars involved include Paul Payne in the 47, Billy Turner in the 58, and Tom Jones in the 0.
Toby Noodleman's up spotting for his brother Kevin tonight. Kevin in his 6th ASA start of 1997 would like to go for Rookie of the Year in 1998, and looking forward to a good run here tonight. Billy Turner, this car is a brand new race car. Howe Enterprises and Teasar Motors were waiting for Brett Bell to pick up this car, and Brett and his car owner Rick Martindale parted ways before that came to fruition. Billy Turner went with the 58, went with his team, and went up to Howe Enterprises and bought this car darn near complete, and has raced it now for the 2nd event.
So as they get the track all squared away and the cars back in line, we'll take a quick break here at Hawkeye Downs, but we're coming back for plenty more of the Pontiac Excitement 300. Stay with us.
The Pontiac Excitement 300, brought to you by the legendary Firebird Trans Am from Pontiac.
We're back to the Pontiac Excitement 300 at Hawkeye Downs Speedway in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've just gone back to green after the first caution flag of the night. Steve Carlson continues to lead in the white and red number 87. Brad Loney has moved himself up into 2nd place, the blue 33. Noodleman now runs in 3rd in the Sitco 21, the orange and purple car. And Gary St. Amant, who started on the outside of row number 1, has slipped all the way back to 4th position now in the Wynn Chevrolet car number 7. Jack Landis is now 5th. Ted Smokestad 6th. And a side-by-side fight for 7th between Mike Garvey and Scott Hansen.
Hansen took the spot on the outside as Noodleman protects the inside line.
Look at Mike Eddy coming up on the outside of Garvey now. It's him and Hansen move through the field. That is a fight going on for 8th position right now.
Mike Eddy saw Scott Hansen do it in 2 turns earlier, so he went to the outside of Mike Garvey's white number 8 car. So Garvey now moves up a spot, and Hansen, he's not done yet. He qualified 10th. They found the rack and pinion was cracked, so they changed it after qualifying. He said, hey, I always qualify well here. Now he's coming from 10th up to the front in a heartbeat.
And he's bringing Eddy right along with him. Smokestad shuts the door on Mike Eddy as they dive into 3. Drifts wide, and that's going to open it right back up. And here comes Mike Eddy up the inside. The Polar Bear, the Good Red Service Plus Pontiac, making some moves here. He's trying to tag along with Hansen as they make their way to the front of the field. The problem for Mike Eddy all season long, and we've documented it numerous times, Jim, is he's quick always in the early stages of the race. The biggest problem, Mike has led plenty of races, but staying there to the very finish has been his downfall.
And unfortunately, he has had his share of DNFs this season. He's had 5 did-not finishes this year. So it's unfortunate for Mike Eddy, who's 3rd in overall laps led coming into this race, is well back in the field when it comes to victories. He's yet to win this season. It's been 31 races since he found victory lane.
Hansen has already passed the Maisto 07 of Jack Landis. Mike Eddy now clears him, and Smokestad comes up alongside. That'll put Eddy up into 6th, Hansen up into 5th. And Smokestad, if he can get around him, will take over 7th. He does. Mike Garvey coming with him. And there's the first look at Rick Beebe. That's the yellow number 23 who comes inside of Landis now.
Rick's had some exciting runs. And last weekend at I-70 Speedway, he and Joe Nutt got together while running for the 3rd position. And they exchanged pleasantries on the racetrack. Carroll Adamy did a half spin in turns 3. He continues on in the Dorothy Lynn salad dressing number 92. All 32 cars remain on the racetrack. Tom Jones is the only guy that has had slight damage from our first incident of the race, but continues on.
There you see Carroll Adamy on the bottom of the racetrack, 92. And there is Brandon Sperling, the white 51. Sperling ran second coming out at I-70 Speedway. Really did a great job in the truck air transfer, number 51, and really got people talking.
That was his 5th straight top 10 finish. He and Bob Seneca have the longest string of top 10 finishes heading into this event. But it really was impressive to see Brad Loney, Brandon Sperling beating Scott Hansen to the line 1 week ago at I-70.
Brandon running a K-Tech motor, but he says the one that they have in the car is getting a little long in the tube. They have a Buick motor laying around, but they don't want to go to that. Whoa, look at Joey Knott getting sideways in the red 48 coming off of turn number 2. He's got Kevin Sawinski, the points leader, right on his tail, and Tecumseh number 1.
Sawinski qualifying a bit off of what his standard has been throughout the season. Qualified 19th on the field, barely missed the top 20 cutoff and qualified. As he finds the handle here, he and his crew chief Mike Chaffee were in heavy discussion as soon as the car came to a complete stop after his qualifying lap. The jack stands were underneath within a minute, and the team went to work.
Detroit, Michigan's Harold Fair, the CarQuest AC-Delco 81, takes advantage and gets inside of Joe Knott as well. And now Bobby Gill looking inside, but he won't get there. So right now you see Sawinski takes over and he moves into 14th, Fair into 15th, and Joey Knott goes from 14th to 16th. Carlson continues to lead this one out front as you watch now the battle between Joe Knott and the red 48. Bobby Gill behind him. They are fighting for 16th position.
Knott has one career victory at Lancaster Speedway in New York last August. Really had struggled throughout the beginning of the season. He and crew chief Chris Bradley had parted ways. First time working with Dave Sensiba's team, but Ron Knott, Joe Knott, and Chris Bradley all decided the change would be good for the team, and Knott is running without a crew chief the last couple of events and plans to stay that way through the remainder of the season.
Jim, he is very loose coming off of turn number 2 as you see Bobby Gill right there in the 55. He's done a nice job getting in behind that car. But Joey Knott is really struggling in turn number 2. Let's see if he gets through there smoothly this time. Time wasn't too bad, but the last couple of trips through there, the car was really twitchy.
Looks like he had a slower entry speed altogether. He might have been overdriving into the corner to keep Gill behind him. Gill in the 55 will be in this car tonight and at Jennerstown. That'll be the end of his three-race string. He has other commitments as he has taken over the Leo Motorsports ride and has run extremely well for that team the last couple of races.
Well, Hansen and Eddie have made their way all the way up to fight for second now. They're on the inside of Brad Loney. Loney, the blue 33. Hansen's going to get him on the inside. That's the preferred line, and he gets into Loney. And Loney slides wide. Eddie comes past. Now Gary St. Amont's going to get by. And Smokestad closes in.
And under you.
She listened to them talking to Brad Loney.
Brad Loney intends.
Oh, and Bob Seneca looks sick. That'll bring out the second yellow of the night as Bob Seneca takes the 84 car around in the middle of the back straightaway.
He and Dave Sensiba about 10 laps ago made heavy contact as Sensiba was trying to gain position. He might not have been alone on the back straightaway, but we'll have to see as he will elect to pit.
And they were running inside the top 20 at the time.
Sensiba qualified 21st, and Seneca qualified 21st, and Sensiba was 18th. They were running nose to tail, as I mentioned a number of laps ago. But no word how that caution got started.
So the second caution of the night is waving here at Hawkeye Downs. Bob Seneca the reason for it. We're coming back to Hawkeye Downs right after this. We're back to green at Hawkeye Downs, and Steve Carlson continues to lead. Second place now is Scott Hansen and Kenny Schrader's number 52. Third is Mike Eddy. And then a side-by-side fight for fourth with Gary St. Amant and Kevin Noodleman. That is now settled out, and St. Amant will take the position. Boy, Hansen is closing in a hurry on Carlson.
Scott Hansen likes this racetrack. The first race they ran after they paved it was a 1989 Artco 100-lap feature. Holtzhausen beat off Butch Miller, Rich Bickle, Steve Carlson, and Scott Hansen. They ran that first ever race, and they've run here at least a dozen times since. They know how to get around this racetrack. That's an understatement.
Jim, in another lap or so, he is not going to be just running behind him, but he is going to be challenging him for that lead spot.
Scott Hansen has led all 5 of the events here for 251 laps, this being the 6th running at Hawkeye Downs Speedway in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And Hansen looking to put it on right here again. They award 5 points for leading a lap, 5 for leading the most laps, and Scott Hansen is closing on Gary St. Amant, the overall point standings. He sits third, St. Amant is second.
We're going to hold the shot here for you and show everybody fighting their way through. There goes Rick Beebe all the way back to 13th, and Billy Turner around on the infield. That's on the back straightaway. He's involved in his second incident of the night, and that is the third caution of the night. Remember, when we were here in July, we had 15 cautions.
It was for 91 laps, which sounds like a lot, but as it turns out, if you average that out, there's only 3 or 4 or 5 laps at a time. So they've been quick spins, 1-car, 2-car incidents. There has not been heavy contact here on the walls in recent history at Hawkeye Downs. But unfortunately for Billy Turner, the night is not a perfect one, as he qualified better than he has ever in an ASA race.
Let's check in with Dave Burns with the story on the Goodyear tires that are running here tonight.
Ralph recalled that in July, the teams had a lot of problem with blistering and tires coming apart. That was the softest compound that ASA runs. Tonight, they run it a degree harder, and most of the teams think that they can go a long way on these tires. In fact, the winner may only pit once for right side tires, and during this caution flag and the last, nobody came in.
Pretty early in the race, I would think, right now anyway, at just 37 laps. Usually it takes about 100 laps or so before we see people diving down pit road for tires. But that is definitely something to keep our eyes on, especially with the cooler temperatures here tonight as well, Jim. That'll help tire.
And it's helping Scott Hansen get from 10th to 2nd. He looked to the outside of Steve Carlson on this last restart. Mike Eddy is all over the backside of Scott Hansen. So if Hansen is going to go to the front, Mike Eddy wants it to be soon. Otherwise, it'll be Eddy challenging for 2nd.
Well, he's followed him all the way so far, and it's worked out pretty good. Gary St. Amant right there with him. Now, you see Gary running back in 4th position. Gary is 2nd in the point standings. He is trying to catch Kevin Sawinski, who is a point leader, and Sawinski right now is running in 14th. So this is exactly the kind of thing Gary needs in the points chase. And look at this, Mike Eddy inside of Scott Hansen. The fight is on for 2nd place. St. Amant sneaking his nose up in there as well. Mike Eddy takes 2nd. Can St. Amant get 3rd? No doing on the turn 2 area. They'll settle that out, single file, and pursue Carlson again.
Gary St. Amant and Scott Hansen are 2 of 3 drivers that have never finished out of the top 10 here. The other driver, Bob Seneker, I believe, and Steve Holzhausen, excuse me. So Hansen, St. Amant, they've had some great successes here. Hansen has had a 16th place finish, but continues to run strong.
Problems for Joe Knotts, Raby Ford. He is on pit road, Sandy.
Well, right now they're putting on 2 rear tires. It appears that they may have missed the setup. It doesn't appear anything else is red, but they are down and away now. 2 rear tires.
Well, that's one of the quick fixes for adjusting the handling of the race car is to change rear tires, not just tires on either side.
And we saw it immensely help the teams at
he's got bigger problems. He's got smoke too, and he's coming right back around. But Joe Knott's got a bigger problem than just tires. As he came out onto the front straightaway and tried to accelerate up, it started smoking heavily, and he has brought it right back around.
The rear tire strategy was in use for Mike Miller's win at Minnesota State Fair a year ago, and now they wants to go back up, and no wheels coming off this time around.
Well, they're getting reports now of possibly fluid leaking underneath the rear end of the car, and Mike Eddy all over the backside of Carlson now. So Hansen took his shot at Carlson, and now Mike Eddy's going to try it.
As Joe Knott's in the pits, a quick update that Knott is laps down. Bob Seneker did lose a lap on that spin, and Tom Jones had spent some green flag racing in the pit area. So those 3 drivers off the pace, but still 29 cars on lead lap.
Add Carroll Adamy to that list as well. Mike Eddy sizing up Steve Carlson. Remember, Carlson, he is the leader in the Pat Schauer Rookie of the Year awards, but well, he's got a lot of laps at this racetrack, and he is truly a veteran racer anyway. He might be a rookie in ASA, but he's a well-known short track driver across the country.
At 39 years of age, hooking up with a championship team of a season ago, yes, he can run and is leading those Pat Schauer Memorial Rookie of the Year standings. His crew chief, Howie Letta, we had him on the program earlier talking about the successes and his approach. He and Steve Carlson are a lot alike, a little low-key. They enjoy working on the race car. That's where they get their fulfillment from when the car runs well like it is here tonight.
It's a pretty interesting race car that Steve is driving here tonight. It's an old chassis, but it didn't have many laps on it. In fact, the last time it won a race was in 1995. It was set up as a road racer for the ASA Series visited Topeka at Heartland Park.
Tony Raines was behind the wheel on that one.
They took a win that day. Oh, and we got big problem in turn 4, sliding right into you. One of those cars is Bob Seneca's
Chuck Hemmingson is facing us.
Chuck Hemmingson, and there's Paul Payne as well, and Justin Dierks of the 19.
There's a fire underneath Justin's car and under the 95 of Hemmingson, as we see Kurt Martin also stopped on the racetrack.
And a lot of fluids coming out from underneath the 19 car. And look at Bob Seneca's Bluebird. This is a driver who has had great success at this racetrack, and it has come to a screeching halt here tonight.
No worse than 10th. He has either won it or finished second in the first 4 trips here. He finished 10th here back in July. More importantly, Dave, Bob Seneca has been coming through the points. 5 top 10 finishes, 2 fifth-place finishes in the last 2 races. He's climbed to 7th in the points, so this will hurt him immensely, as he's only 97 points ahead of Brandon Sperling, who sits 12th in the points.
There is a lot of damage to the front end of this Thunderbird. Let's take a look at this, see if we can figure out what happened here. There's Payne in the yellow and green 47, and Seneca behind Dierks. Oh, there we go. Martin gets involved. Martin's in the 43, and boy.
Hemmingson looked for a hole, but Seneca and the other car there got involved, and boy, it just closed up in a hurry for Hemmingson trying to get through there, but it started when Kurt Martin had contact from the front nose of Paul Payne's 47 car. Justin Dierks spinning to the wall. He's back by the pace car. And
looks like Doug Mayer sliding through there without any problems. Well, this will bring a lot of cars on the pit road. Sandy?
Well, Paul Payne is one of them. As you can see, they are taping up the bodywork, the fiberglass there in the rear end. They also changed 2 tires while they were at it. Also ducking into pit road was Brad Loney, taking advantage of this opportunity to fix a tight condition. And also out of the race right now, Joe Knott. Joe, at first it looked like he missed the setup, but now it looks more serious.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough night for us. I think we're going to take about 100 laps to get this thing fixed. We think right now we broke the tail shaft off the transmission, so the thing's not driving. It's going down the front stretch, and the thing just kind of darted left on me, so everything kind of broke loose underneath. We're just going to get it fixed and get back out there. It's probably going to take a while, but we need to get points going. So Valvoline's been done good for us this year. Alan Knott, Raby Ford, just tough night for us. You know, it's getting down the end of the season, and points count.
Okay, then thank you, Joe Knott. He's out of the race for the night.
And he was 11th in the points coming into tonight, so he's going to take a hit as well. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Well, I'm standing by with a guy who was moving up in the points as well and had some good runs going. Bob, 2 incidences tonight have gotten you in trouble. What happened the first time with the spin?
For some reason, Davey thought he ought to hook onto me when I went by him. That took care of my day right there. That kind of ruined it. I had to go from the back. And when you're running in the back of with the slower cars, you know something's going to happen. It's just trouble, and it was inevitable.
Bob, 3 more races to go, though. You guys are back on the upswing in terms of the performance of your Ford Thunderbird. What's your outlook for the races at Salem, where you've run and won quite a bit?
I don't know. We're just taking 1 race at a time here right now. It's not looking too good.
Okay, Bob's done for tonight.
Well, as we go to break, I want you to turn the volume up and get a good hold on the couch. You're going to take this crash real time. Hawkeye down, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The crew doing a great job of cleaning up this half mile as quick as they can so that we can go racing once again with the AC-Delco Challenge Series. There's Martin out of his car. We'd like to take a quick second and pass along some get well wishes to a person who is near and dear to the ASA family. She is the mother of Dan Duvall of Group 5 Sports, who has a lot to do with the AC-Delco Challenge Series and bringing it to where it is at this point in its career. And she is a little under the weather. We hope she is doing better and getting back so she can start watching ASA races once again back there in Charlotte. We hope she's doing well. And all of us at the ASA family send along our get well and best wishes to her and the entire Duvall family. Let's check in with some stories in and around Mike Eddy, 7-time champ. He's got some new crew members, I hear.
You bet, Ralph, and he's looking pretty good tonight. The guy who is a normal and regular crew member here is the guy in the red headset. That's Stan Brady. He's been with Mike a long time, but his brother Pat is on the right, and he's a stand-in jackman tonight. Now, the reason for that is that Dave Meyer, who is the normal jackman for Mike Eddy, is at home with his brother Roger, who's undergoing brain surgery. And our best wishes go out right now to Dave Myers and his whole family as they sit tight with Roger. That happened this afternoon. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. But tonight, brother Pat of Stan Brady gets in and does jacking procedures.
Mike Eddy out on the racetrack, looking to bring to an end that streak of 29 races that he has not claimed to win. Can he do it? We'll find out. Stay with us. The lead battle is starting to pull away as we go back to racing here at the Pontiac Excitement 300 with the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Steve Carlson is your leader in the white 87. He's being chased by Mike Eddy, but slowly sliding backwards is a car that came rocketing to the front. Scott Hansen's number 52. We're hearing Dave Burns has a slow leaking right rear tire.
That's what they're saying. We'll stand by and see what happens in here, but right now they've pulled the tires out. They've got the fuel can ready. They've also got a member. It's actually Chris Hyland, Carl Hyland's son from the 18 car, Mike Miller. He's going to stand by with a big piece of iron to try to get that car up off of the right end when Scott pulls it in, because by the time he gets here, guys, it's going to be down on the rim.
Well, we've seen Scott Hansen do some amazing things with race cars that were beaten, broken, and battered that should not have happened. I remember some things with some front suspension pieces just dangling on that race car.
Kemley, North Carolina last year, he ran, I believe, the last third of the race, and the left front A-arm actually damaged to the point where the wheel is at a 45-degree angle. Apparently, the right front tire might be the one going down for Hansen. He's unable to get through the corners as quickly as he'd like to. He's back into the 10th position now. He was right behind the leaders on this restart. We got the call there might be a problem, and he's drifted back to 9th in a matter of 10 laps.
Let's check in with Sandy Hang with another story out of the pits.
Well, another car that is out of the race is the car of Chuck Hemmingson, brought in on the hook. Chuck, what happened?
Well, there was a few cars that got into it right in front of me. The truck got blacked off, and I had nowhere to go, so I'm afraid that Gannon Wholesale Pontiac's out for the night.
It's just down.
What's that?
Down for the night. Nowhere to go.
Now we're all done. It's not enough parts to fix it. The car's hurt a little worse than it looks, so I'm afraid we're done.
But you gotta love him. The driver's got a smile on his face despite the poor outcome.
That fight for the lead really starting to heat up as Mike Eddy is really working the backside of Steve Carlson right now. Taking a look to the inside to see if he can get Carlson up out of the groove a little bit.
Mike Eddy has 54 career victories. None of them have come here at Hawkeye Down Speedway. In the 5 previous runnings, his best is a 3rd place effort in 94. He's led 2 times for 104 laps, but has not had the success. And if you call in 1995, he and local favorite Brad Loney got together in the winning laps. Loney was out of tires, and Eddy was had fresh tires and coming. They made contact right here in turns 1 and 2 in that race. I think Mike survived it for the 12th, make that the 10th position, and Brad soldiered on as well, but they were going for the lead and potentially the win in the closing lap. So Mike Eddy knows how to finesse the car here and also knows how it can bite you if you get into a car at speed going for the lead.
Mike will be very patient in this. He will not rush to get around Carlson. He'll wait until he has a good opening. Look at this fight for 13th. Kevin Sawinski is the black number 1. Harold Farrer in the white 81. Brandon Sperling in the white 51. And Bobby Gill in the white and blue 55. Junior Hanley behind them. Mike Kofer behind him. That is for 13th position. That position, actually it's 12. Sawinski in the black number 1 now takes 12. Farrer takes 13. Jack Landis just in front of them in 11. There he is. And Mike Garvey in the 8 car is listed in 10th. Tecumseh now sponsoring Kevin Sawinski's LeFevre Racing number 1. It will be with him for the rest of the season.
Mike Garvey running 11th has not caught Scott Hansen, which is quite a surprise. With Hansen's problems, he drifted back to the 10th position, but has maintained that. He's got a 5 or 6 length lead. And Mike Eddy's come down pit lane.
Well, that's shocking. Lap 72, he dives down pit road. Sandy, what's the problem?
Well, they think they cut a tire, so they're taking advantage of this opportunity. It's not an opportunity, I'm sure, as he sees it, to take on 2 right side tires. Let's see if it was the front. Doesn't appear to be the front. It must have been a right rear tire. He is down.
Interesting how Scott Hansen decided to stay out as long as he could, or apparently the leak on Mike's car was a lot harder or worse than what Hansen was dealing with, and he couldn't apparently afford to wait.
Mike getting 2 laps down with fresh right side tires, but that green flag stop killed him.
And if he's not careful, he'll go 3 laps down because Carlson is right behind him. Laps that Carlson has led in an ASA race this season, more so than what he did even at the Track Auto 200 at Milwaukee earlier this year. He led some 66 laps that day.
got a correction from scoring. Mike Getty's 1 lap down at the tail end of being a 2nd lap down.
And this is a fight for 3rd that we're watching here. Smokestad in the 32, Noodleman in the 21, the orange and purple car, Rick Beebe in the 23. And a big crash in turn 3 involving half a dozen or so cars, including Brad Loney, Mike Kofer,
Tim Sauter.
We see Billy Turner involved in this one again. Dave Sensiba was in there. A whole bunch of cars. There's Turner in the 58 car.
He was an afterthought in this crash because the crash had developed and gone all the way to the wall. When he came in, he swapped ends to avoid hitting anyone. You can see the damage on the front end of that Super Speed Pontiac. And there's Tim Sauter and Alan Pinsino's trim class Pontiac.
And Brad Loney and Mike Kofer still sitting nose to nose up along the wall in turn 3. There's Loney crawling out of the 33 car. He looks like he took a shot.
He's in very good physical condition as well, and unfortunately that heavy impact over there, you can see there was a slight trail leading up to the wall from where Brad had blocked the brakes down heading into the contact with Mike Kofer.
Brad able to climb out under his own power and walk away. Now Mike Kofer climbs out of the 79, the Black & Decker car. It's good to see as well. Mike, a former NASCAR Southwest Tour Rookie of the Year, a winner at the Stockton 99 Speedway Southwest Tour competition, and a former place kicker for the world champion San Francisco 49ers and the Indianapolis Colts. And now this is what Scott Hansen needed, Dave. He needed the yellow flag to get in there and get that slow leaking tire changed.
And that tire, apparently, according to crew chief Lynn Miller, was bad on the starting grid. When he went out and checked, it had already lost 14 pounds, so they aired it back up, which is legal, but it obviously lost during the first racing action here. They're down the way. They get those right side tires.
Brandon Sperling taking advantage of it. We work lap 78 right now. Let's see what happens, Jim, as we take a look at this replay here in turn 3.
Into the corner, we see Mike Kofer spun around, and Brad Loney hits the wall with heavy contact. Then they pile in. Sensiba goes to the bottom. He may have been sent by a car behind him getting on the brakes late.
Doug Mayer was in there. We missed him.
Tim Sauter's the car that nosed up to the wall. He's been in the pits and already underway, and Billy Turner's spinning across the track. And
Doug Mayer coming along.
Yep, Doug Mayer, the 11th
Carol
car.
Adamy, and it looks like Johnny Spa maybe going around on the bottom. So Brandon Sperling's got the Truck Air Transfer 51 back out on the racetrack as we work lap 79 here at Hawkeye Downs. We'll be back for more of the Pontiac Excitement 300 in just a minute. They're still cleaning up the mess over in turn 3 here at the Pontiac Excitement 300. We're at Hawkeye Downs Speedway, the only paved half mile in all of Iowa. We're in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for the 17th 20 races this season. That means we've got 3 left to go. And our next ASA race on TNN is coming up a week from Sunday. We'll be at the tough half mile at Jennerstown Speedway for the Pennsylvania 400. Tune in Sunday, September 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on TNN Motorsports as TNN Motorsports takes you all the way with live flag-to-flag coverage through the end of the ASA season for 1997. Let's check in the pits now with Dave Burns.
Well, after a great week last week where they finished first at I-70, the race, Brad, you're out early tonight, and I saw you wincing there. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm a little bit sore. I took a pretty good shot there. I think Mike Kofer laid down a little oil last week. We were fortunate when Kevin Sawinski had some fluid problems, and we were able to avoid crashing then, but we weren't able to avoid it tonight. You know, the guys on the Bun Saver Hunter Specialties Flex Steel Furniture team did a fantastic job. Pontiac gave us a great car, and how Racing Enterprises built a good, safe car. You know, I'm here standing talking to you, and you know, this isn't the way we wanted to end our night at our hometown track, but you know, I'm still in one piece. We'll be happy about that, and we'll look forward to going to Jennerstown next week.
And we know the fans will be tuning in on TNN to see Brad next week. Sandy?
Well, I'm with Doug Mayer. Doug, you were dodging mishaps all night, and then bang, you got involved. How did that all unfold?
Yeah, there was a lot of trouble out there tonight. Several incidents, and we were doing just fine. We missed several accidents. staying out of trouble. We actually had 9th fastest time in practice this morning. Then we kind of lost the handle on it in qualifying, but the crew's been working hard on this no-touch Menards car. We've been gaining experience. A lot of the other teams have been helping us out, which we're really appreciative of, and it's been getting better and better all the time. So we're looking forward to a good run. If we can get it back in, we'll be back in the race. Thank you.
Well, they're just about done with the cleanup over in turn 3. We'll take an opportunity to do a little more business. We'll come back for the green flag of the Pontiac Excitement 300 when we return to Hawkeye Downs. They just took the green flags. They came up the front straightaway, now working their way through 1 and 2 as the Pontiac Excitement 300 continues with the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Live tonight on TNN Motorsports from Hawkeye Downs Speedway. Steve Carlson continues to lead. Gary St. Amand is running in second. Noodleman is in third. Rick Beebe is fourth, and Steve Holzhausen up to fifth.
9 cars have yet to pit as we're 89 laps into this one, and those 9 cars are being chased down by Scott Hansen, who had the fortune of waiting till the caution to change his tire. Unfortunately for Mike Eddy, he runs ahead of Scott on the racetrack, but is 1 lap down after a green flag, right side tire change.
Mike is currently listed in 19th, and Hansen they have listed in 10th.
Top 9 cars didn't pit. Hansen will stay in the 10th spot, and he's now working underneath 72 of Junior Hanley, so now maybe it's Mike Eddy's turn to show the way through the field here.
Little bumping and bang as they work their way past Junior Hanley's Kendall Oil Ford City number 72. Mike Garvey's in that white with the blue numeral number 8, and Ted Smokestad in the blue, red, and white 32. They're all fighting in 11th, 10th, and 12th position. Hansen now credited with 9th, and Mike Eddy still in 19th as he tries to work his way back around to get back on the lead lap.
Consider if Mike Eddy can forge a way for Hansen to the front. Hansen would take the lead, and Mike Eddy would be back on lead lap.
There's Kevin Sawinski in the black number 1. He is 7th in the race right now. Landis in the 07. That just switches now on the scoring monitor, so gives 6th position to Sawinski and 7th to Landis.
Landis qualified 4th here, but looking at his history in the 3 previous races he's run here, he's finished no better than 24th. So for his run to turn around like it has, it really is season to come full circle after leading the opening laps of the first race of the season. Not let since. It really is a promising sign for the team based out of Ohio, sponsored by Adirondack International Speedway in Beaver Falls, New York.
And Harold Fair in the 81 car running in 8th position with Mike Eddy all over him now.
One of the drivers that is winless this season. He has a longer winning drought than Mike Eddy and a number of the other ASA cars, but Harold has had some excellent runs this season. He and his son Harold Fair Jr., along with some key employees like Gary Cooper, have really worked on this car. He's separated but remained close friends with Alex Pinsino. He was preparing Alex cars up to this season, and he had decided to go on his own, and Harold Fair Jr. and the AC-Delco CarQuest Pontiac team has really shown some strong runs this season. Harold comes into this race 10th in points.
And Mike Eddy is 9th in points, and he is right behind him on the racetrack right now. Here's the fight for 3rd. Noodleman and the 21. Holzhausen, the black number 5. Here comes Sawinski through on the inside as they're all going past Rick Beebe.
Nor did the 3 cars that just passed him, so his tires are a little bit more worn out here. Beebe did make a strong charge to the front. Rick started in the 12th position, was running top 5 by, I'd say, lap 60 or so, and now it seems like it's paying off for the other teams that have saved their tires just a little bit better.
Well, he was 4th. He just got shuffled back to 6th position. He was caught in the middle of that controversy with Joe Knott last week.
Yeah, they made contact in the later stages of the race while running for the winning
position. He made contact right there. Did you see him get all squirrely behind Sawinski?
From that incident, Joe Knott has been put on probation and fined by ASA. Knott finished 11th in that race. Beebe was 12th at the finish, but they did have contact, and Knott didn't like it, took retaliation, and ASA said, we don't like that, and they fined him and put him on probation, so he has to drive very cleanly now, does Joe Knott for the rest of the season.
Story with Dave Burns.
And Ralph, I talked to Rick Beebe, and he said that Joe Knott gave him a phone call this week, and Joe said, Rick, I'm sorry, I got into you. And Rick said, yes, you did.
Apparently ASA felt the same way. Ended up fine, although although I think the fine was more for the retaliation after more than it was the incident itself.
He was under caution when they made contact for the second time.
Kevin Sawinski, the Tecumseh #1. He is the current AC-Delco Challenge Series points leader. He came into the series last year, won the Pat Shower Rookie of the Year award. This year looks to claim the championship. He comes up underneath Steve Holzhausen, the Howes lubricator #5. Holzhausen holds on to 4th position.
Kevin Sawinski won the event here in July, his 3rd and final race thus far that he pulled into victory lane after. That's 7 races ago that Sawinski has gone without a victory. Steve Holzhausen, of course, winning the first ever ASA race here at Hawkeye Down Speedway, dating back to 1994. And here he's working on Kevin Noodleman, one of the up-and-coming drivers. 6-time lacrosse Speedway champion. Runs the Gold Star Series here in Super Late Model competition and runs extremely well. And lacrosse, his home track, and here at Hawkeye Downs, his other home track.
Holzhausen on the outside of it. We've seen all the passes made on the inside tonight. Now Holzhausen goes upstairs, and he'll try one on the outside. Comes up alongside of Kevin Noodleman. Can he get around him? Sawinski will slide up inside now. If it doesn't work, Holzhausen could find himself slipping back a couple of spots.
This is Noodleman's 9th ASA start, and Holzhausen won the first ever pavement race here in 1989 and has quite a few more laps than Noodleman in recent history at this facility.
Well, the outside group worked for Steve Holzhausen as he ends up taking 3rd position away. So Sawinski will try it now. He'll come outside of Noodleman.
Sawinski had his top 10 string broken last race. He was leading at I-70 Speedway when he caught something through the radiator, put water down, spun in his own water, ended up losing the engine and finishing 15th. He maintains a 190-point lead coming into the race tonight, but as a point leader and as the stranglehold of the season started to unravel a bit last week, Kevin Sawinski would like nothing better than have that Tecumseh Motorsports #1 back at the point.
Well, Sawinski now takes 4th. You're going to wonder, we got to wait and see if Beebe will try the outside or the inside now to get around Noodleman as they'll fight for 5th.
Sawinski running just off the leader's pace. Leader is...
He'll go to the outside. Look at that. Beebe on the outside coming down the front straightaway. Landis looking there as well. So they have found the Achilles heel on Noodleman. It's the outside. And he's going to try to do everything he can to keep Landis from getting up there, Dave.
Well, Jack Landis, I'm surprised that he can make the move on Kevin Noodleman, because ever since the Fords got back their 750 carburetors, the 07 team stayed with the 600. They liked it. In fact, it was better than their 750 carburetor, so they've never changed it. They think the only time that they might is when they get to Salem Speedway, where you need everything on the car, including as much horsepower as possible. But for right now, Jack Landis is running the smaller of the 2 carburetors allowed in the Ford.
Sometimes, Jim, smaller carburetor might be a little less horsepower, but you might get better grip out of the tires, getting that power to the ground. You can take better advantage of what you've got. So maybe that was the thinking.
And the numbers Dave was rattling off there talked about the differences in cubic feet per minute, or CFMs, that the carburetors have, and the Ford teams do have that option to go to either one. And I agree. I think the teams have raced with the 600 carburetor long enough to figure out the strength and the tendencies. And here at a flat racetrack, you really need that power coming off the corner, but you may sacrifice it going through the turns.
That's only on racetracks less than a mile.
Right. Well, Kevin Noodleman hanging on into the 6th position now as Beebe got around. Landis is ready to lead the next train past Noodleman. If he doesn't hang on to this position, he may well fall out of the top 10.
Well, we've been watching the fight back here in 6th and 7th position, but this one up front is still pretty good. Steve Carlson continues to lead here in the Pontiac Excitement 300. Pontiac driver, the Drop Market 87, holding off the Chevy of Gary St. Amant, who runs in 2nd. We'll be right back with more after this. Some of the sights and sounds in the early stages of the Pontiac Excitement 300. Coming to you tonight from Hawkeye Downs, the American Speed Association. Ralph Shaheen along with Jim Trado, Dave Burns, and Sandy Hang bringing you the action here tonight. as you watch the fight for the lead between the number 87 of Steve Carlson and the number 7, Gary St. Amant. Now, they have caught up behind some of the slower traffic. That's Johnny Spa, the 03 in front of them, and Billy Turner in front of him.
Local favorite Johnny Spa about to go a lap down, got involved in the first incident, or make that the second incident of the evening, and he's had to battle back from heading into the pits. We see some tape down the front end of his Pontiac, and he's running in the 18th position, final car in lead lap ahead of our lead pair off of turn 2.
He had a good run in the last chance race earlier tonight.
Great run, won that to start 25th on the race, and he does have an 8th place finish here and has led some laps.
Carlson got into him right there. Carlson gets into him, goes to the outside, and St. Amant goes to the inside and takes the lead. I think Carlson got frustrated with sitting behind Spa and tried to bump him out of the way, and it worked to his disadvantage, and now the lead goes to Gary St. Amant.
Just the second leader of the race. Steve Carlson had the pole. This lap 123, these guys haven't pitted yet, and Gary takes over the point, gets those 5 bonus points for leading a lap.
Let's take a look at this again. Now, Johnny Spa is in the 03, the silver car. Carlson behind him. Here's turns 3 and 4, and look, he gets right up on him here.
I imagine it intended to be just a bump to loosen him and then go by, but Spa was on the gas hard enough to keep Carlson on the outside, and here comes St. Amant. I'm sure Spa looked pretty surprised there. He actually had to hit the brakes going into turn number 1.
And he kind of turned right and then realized that Carlson was there, and Carlson had to get out of it. All that cost Carlson time, and you can see what it did for Gary St. Amant. Now he's got a couple of seconds on Steve Carlson and is the second leader of the race here tonight as we continue to work lap 125 of the scheduled 300. Gary started on the front row tonight. Carlson, of course, the pole winner tonight, setting a new track record. Is not out of the points championship hunt in any way, Jim. I mean, it's still a gap, but he has got a shot at it. By picking up 5 points for leading here tonight is a big way of helping to make that happen.
Certainly does. He closed it with 190 points of the leader in the points. Kevin Sawinski, and now taking the lead here, could get 5 more for leading the most laps, and of course, with the win, even gain more.
And he just puts a lap on a new driver to Bud Kevin's team. You see Gary waves to his new teammate. That's Jimmy Johnson, Bud Kevin's number 4. And Jimmy Johnson rose to popularity through the ranks of the Mickey Thompson Off-Road Series and now the Soda Off-Road Series. Chevrolet really likes this young man, and they want him to go ASA Racing, and that is why they are here tonight. In fact, Kurt Fischel, the head of General Motors Motorsports Division, is here tonight watching how Jimmy Johnson does in his ASA debut, and he's looking pretty good. The young man finished second in the Soda points this season in Class 8, which is their most popular division.
Jimmy did test here, but looks for...
Oh, Junior Hanley goes around with help from Bobby Gill. Sliding into the infield and into the barriers is Junior Hanley, the great stock car driver out of Canada.
Junior Hanley was running in the 12th position. All 4 corners of this car were cherry red. The brakes were extremely hot. He was going into the corner ahead of Bobby Gill. Those are 2 veterans of short track racing, and it may have been a problem with the brakes for the 72 car, and it was a bad brake for them. Bobby Gill was a bit quicker on the backstretch and spun him out.
Well, let's see who takes advantage of this yellow, Jim. 131 laps completed, and as you mentioned, a lot of guys had not taken an opportunity to pit yet. By now, they got to be due. But first, let's take a look at this replay.
See the left rear wheel of the 72 car is cherry red. He broke loose off of turn 2.
It looked like because of the racing with Garvey, he did break loose, and then Gill, as we turned into it, he was already sideways when Gill got into him a little bit.
See Brandon Sperling making an evasive move on the outside, and here comes Junior right at the camera. They have foam barriers, not on the racetrack, but in the infield to protect the cars from further damage, and from the concrete, you can see it help Junior drive away from this one.
And everybody taking advantage of pit stops, including Gary St. Amant, Kevin Sawinski, Steve Carlson, Rick Beebe, and here is Dave Burns.
Standing by in Gary St. Amont's pit, I talked to car owner Bud Gevin. They said they might be able to make the race in one pit stop. They changed right side tires and add fuel and get Gary away. Looks like they might have beat Sawinski. That'll be an interesting call. But he said if they miss the setup at all, if there's any stagger problem, they may not be able to make it on just one pit stop. So stand by for that. Sandy Hank?
Well, who's pulling out right now is the 72 car of Junior Hanley. His crew tells me that he has had a little bit of a brake problem tonight. He is one of those kind of drivers that uses the brake heavily, but he did take on 2 right side tires. Also coming in, Jack Landis taking on 2 right sides, and Holzhausen.
Gary St. Amant and crew have completed their pit stop. He is back out on the racetrack. And we'll be back to Hawkeye Downs right after this. We are back to Hawkeye Downs for the Pontiac Excitement 300. And we are 1 lap away from going back to the green flag. Brandon Sperling in the 51 car will be your leader, and there is a look at the 87, Steve Carlson. Sandy?
Well, I know that they are very happy with the car. I was talking to Howie Leddow a little bit ago, and he said, smiled at me and said, too bad we got to stop for gas. They like those tires that they had on so well, and that may be their only pit stop.
Now this car, as I said, it won a road race back in 1995 at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Then it became a show car for the team. But Howie says that Steve loves this car. He can really feel all the adjustments they make on it. It's a good feeling for the car. Brandon Sperling out front in car 51, the truck air transfer number 51, leading here at Hawkeye Downs. Kevin Sawinski is second, Gary St. Amant third, Carlson is fourth, Mike Miller, the old Milwaukee number 18, is in fifth, Rick Beebe sixth, Steve Holzhausen seventh, Mike Garvey eighth, Scott Hansen is ninth, and Bobby Gill is 10th. There is Sawinski, the black number 1, and Gary St. Amant 7. That is first and second in the AC-Delco Challenge Series point standings.
Brandon Sperling's lead, albeit the 4th time he's led this season, may be a short-lived one. He came in on lap 78, but all other lead-lap cars pitted. They're chasing him down.
Boy, St. Amant real loose coming off in turn number 4. See if it does the same thing here in 2. No? There's something on the racetrack. Watch him again as they come through 3 and 4. Watch the number 7. Let's see if it breaks loose on him again. It was right here that it got loose. No, good that time. Maybe he just went through something. He's going to go right around. Sawinski on the inside. Carlson trying to come with him, as is Mike Miller. This is a fight for second. Carlson comes by. Here comes Mike Miller. Some drivers, Jim, really able to do things on the outside, but apparently Kevin Sawinski, when he gets to the outside, his car doesn't handle as well.
Mike Miller did the old Milwaukee beer lean going into turn 3. He laid on him just enough to keep Sawinski on the outside and make the pass. Sawinski has yet to be able to get to the bottom.
Beebe, Holzhausen, they're all coming through. Sawinski was in second. Now he is in 7th. And Hansen all over him on the backside. Jimmy Johnson, the youngster in the Chevy, watches everybody coming by on the outside of him now.
Johnson
runs in 16.
He has 7 years of experience doing off-road racing, but he just turned 22 years of age on Wednesday. So talk about race experience at a young age. That's off-road racing. This is his first ever pavement race.
He has moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, as seems like everybody else does, and he waves him to the outside, tells Rick Beebe, I see you, I'm moving over, go get him on the outside of me.
Class movement, look at how the speed he carries through the corners is almost equal to that of the lead cars, and he is really doing quite a bit of impressing, I would think, on the GM folks.
Well, see, you mentioned the fact that he has so many years of experience. Okay, it might have been in another form of racing, but things like that, being aware of what's going on around you and knowing to allow the faster cars by you cleanly and safely is something that takes a long time to learn. That's what he learned in his 7 years of racing. Those are the hard things to learn. Getting acclimated and seat time in the 4 car will make up all the difference, and he'll become a good stock car driver.
He will be in this lane automotive number 4 and 2 more ASA races shown live here on TNN before the season's out.
He's got a good tutor, too, in Gary St. Amant, who will be his coach on Bud Gevin's race team. Bobby Gill, Mike Garvey fighting for 9th position right behind him. Smokestad is in 11th. He runs with them, so a 3-car fight for 9th.
Smokestad ran this racetrack on a weekly basis in the early 90s. He and Brad Loney fought it out.
Oh, and he gets into Garvey. Drove right into the right rear corner of Garvey. left rear corner, I should say.
Two completely different braking points into that turn. Almost turned out for the worst for Smokestead. He's lucky he saved it.
He got the car right up in the air, Jim.
No apparent damage.
Didn't seem to bother Garvey at all, did it? Mike just soldiers on.
Smokestead has some damage on the right front corner. Looks like it's just part of the fiberglass bodywork.
Be careful that doesn't rub on the tire, but Garvey got out of it. It seems to be okay. Take a look at the 8. Doesn't look too bad. Mike Garvey and Ted Smokestead fighting for 10th position. Garvey in the white number 8. Well, he's had it up and down year too, hasn't he, Mike Garvey?
Garvey has 2 wins, but that's 2 pillars to stand on. There's been a lot of valleys in between those wins, and he did win it from 33rd position at Jefferson, Georgia, but boy, Pensacola, excuse me, but he's had his hands full. He does seem to get the corners a little bit too hot. It cost him some positions late in the race at I-70 a week ago.
And it could lose a spot there to Smokestead. So Ted will take over 10th. Mike Eddy catches up to them. He is now up to 17th. He's trying to get inside of Garvey. He's still 1 lap down is Mike Eddy. So he's trying to find his way to the front to unlap himself. Garvey slides wide, Mike comes through. That's not a change in position. It's position on the track.
Race with the 4 car for the 88 of Mike Eddy. Those cars battling 1 lap down. Smokestead on lead lap, tries to make the pass on Jimmy Johnson. All the while this is going on, Brandon Sperling has not been caught in a heartbeat like I thought he would after the caution. He maintains a 1.4 second lead on Gary St. Amant at the head of the field.
There's Rick Beebe and Steve Holzhausen. That's a fight for 5th position. Holds on to 5th right now, Sandy.
Right now I'm with Duke Spangler. He is the crew chief for Holzhausen. You did some testing here, Duke. What did you learn yesterday?
Well, primarily we tested to make sure that the car was going to be good and stable on the long green, and it looks like it's coming in real good.
What else is working for you tonight?
Pardon me?
What else is working for you tonight?
Well, it seems like the car is turning real good in the middle of the turn. We also worked on making that happen a little bit better.
But the real question, can you get around Rick Beebe?
Oh, I think so. The longer it goes, the better we get.
That's Duke Spangler. He is the crew chief for Steve Holzhausen.
Holzhausen told me at the beginning of the show, Jim, that he feels right now they are where they should have been at the beginning of the season. This team has struggled all year long. They don't really know what's wrong. They've had a lot of bad luck. He's got a new Port City chassis that he's running with tonight, and he feels pretty good with it. They're hoping to build a little momentum here at the back end of the season to carry over into 1998.
And they also have Howe's Lubricator on for the remainder of the year, so they did pick up some sponsorship along with their better runs.
15 cars still on the lead lap. We've had 3 leaders, 2 lead changes, 6 cautions. Remember last time we were here in July, we had 15 cautions. So we'll see how that goes tonight. Right now is still Brandon Sperling out front of the Pontiac Excitement 300. Rick Beebe and Steve Holzhausen fighting it out for 5th as Sperling leads.
The Pontiac Excitement 300, brought to you by Just for Men, the leader in men's hair coloring. Blends away gray in 5 minutes.
Great short track racing going on here at Hawkeye Downs. Kevin Noodleman in the 21, hanging his way past Dave Sensma in the 6, and here comes Brandon Sperling, our leader in the 51 car. Sensma right now is in 15th position, and Sperling trying to get around him and put him a lap down. Paul Payne in the 47 car you see there as well is in 20th. That's the yellow and green car. Now, Brandon Sperling, we've talked about, Jim, as a new driver on the tour, a young lion, if you will, making his way into the ranks of the ASA, learning every week. And he learned a hard hard lesson the other day when it comes to ASA racing. Never, ever tell your crew anything about your childhood that you don't want them to know. He mentioned to the crew that as a youngster, he loved Smokey and the Bandit. Had a Bandit radio control car, had a Bandit belt buckle. So the crew now nicknamed Brandon the Bandit. In fact, they've taped stickers onto the dashboard of the car that yells out, "Here comes the Bandit." The Bandit looking pretty good here tonight.
This is the 4th race he's led this year and 7th in his career.
And he's in Sensiba too.
Most laps he's led in any ASA race.
Boy, Dave Sensiba's taking a pounding here in the last couple of laps. We saw Johnny Spa bang his way past, and look at this, he's into him some more.
Sensiba trying to stay on lead lap, but Brandon Sperling awfully quick. He had a 1.4-second advantage on Gary St. Amant. While this is going on, St. Amant is now closed in and runs the apron underneath Sensiba.
Hey, Carlson, who is 3rd, is right behind St. Amant.
Well, that clean red Pontiac certainly is not out of it.
And Mike Miller in the 18 car. He runs in 4th position. BB is 5th in the yellow 23. So now, with all that slower traffic in front of him, they have all caught Brandon Sperling.
The top 6 cars being ended up there with the 5-car of Holzhausen coming down the back straightaway. He's in the 6th position.
Remember that yellow and green 47 of Payne. He's in 20th. A handful of laps down. But Sperling having a good run. 2nd last week at I-70. What a great confidence booster that was, and it's showing again here tonight. We've talked, Jim, over the weeks of the season. We felt that Brandon Sperling, if he could get some consistency in equipment and crew, he'd have a shot at a win. And it looks like he's getting another one here tonight.
John Boskin has been handling the duties of preparing the car out of Ohio. Glenn Allen Sr. still involved with the ownership of the shop and came to the race last week to have the driver of the 51 car get to a runner-up finish. The team very involved as John Boskin and Glenn Allen Sr. brother-in-laws working this race team to peak performance here, leading the laps here. 5 straight top 10s coming into tonight.
Mike Miller in the 18 car blew up a motor at I-70 last week, got out of the car and told Dave Burns live on TV, "My season is done. That's it. I'm out of money." He was the 2nd leading money winner, Jim, but he was able to find some money from the folks at Old Milwaukee, enough to get him here to Hawkeye Downs. The team seems to think if they could get a 5th place finish or better here tonight, that might be enough with the money they've got from Old Milwaukee to continue on to the next one. And it behooves them, where they are in the point standings right now, to continue on. Mike came into tonight 8th in the points. He'd pick up a nice check at the end of the season, which would help cover some of his expenses.
And as close as he's running to the ragged edge of going extremely, he's going to the next race on what he's getting paid here tonight. That's not how he wants to race, but that's how racing has been done for many years in the short tracks. Don't think that's how he wants to run the AC-Delco Challenge Series to the end of the season, hoping to get cash from race to race. He's looking for some sponsorship to shore up the rest of the year. And you see the quarterfinals are empty, so perhaps there are some people taking notice here tonight.
Mike has struggled to get inside of the top 10 lately. He finished his last win came at La Crosse back in July, and he had a 4th at Berlin and Grand Rapids, Michigan in August. So
then 4 straight finishes outside the top 10.
And he needs another one. Rick Beebe in the 23, giving him chase. Pontiac Excitement 300 works lap 179. Mike Chaffee hoping his driver, Kevin Sawinski, who runs in 10th, can get up to the front. We are back to Hawkeye Downs, and here's a look at the top 10 after 185 of the scheduled 300 laps. Here for the Pontiac Excitement 300, Brandon Sperling continues to lead the Truck Air Transfer number 51, with Gary St. Amant right on his tail in that number 7. Now, the thing to take note of here, Jim, that we have had 10 different winners so far in the 1997 ASA season. If Brandon can hold on and win, he would be, of course, the 11th different winner of the season. Only twice before in the history of the American Speed Association have we had 11 different winners in a season. The last time time being 1977, time before that being 1974.
1974, there were 11 races contested. They have a different winner in each of those events. Through 1997, we've had 16 events, 10 different winners, and 9 different drivers who have won the pole position.
It's pretty good parity.
Very, very good parity, and it's great to see drivers like Steve Holtzhausen have a good run here tonight. Steve Carlson at a racetrack he's had many laps on has run up front throughout the evening. Mike Garvey, he's been sawing at the wheel a little bit, but what may seem to be overdriving by some people is how Garvey likes the car. He likes it loose, likes to manhandle it through the corners.
He's in that white number 8, and he's got Harold Fair in the number 81 fighting with him for 12th position. Harold right up onto the back bumper, too, of Garvey. Garvey was a contender last week as well. Big problems in turn 3. Brandon Sperling and Johnny Spa involved in a fiery incident in turn 3. Brandon climbs out of the car right away. He was the leader of the race. Johnny Spa was laps down in the 03. And Brandon trying to see what he can do to help Spa climb out of the car, and he does. The fire crew there right away. Brandon checking on his rival, and everybody out of the car. So the 6th caution flag of the night waves.
What a hard
boy, what a raging inferno, too, as it has obviously ruptured the fuel tank, Jim.
Again, both drivers are out of this incident. They have walked away. Heavy impact in turn number 3. The 03 of Spa was a lap down. Sperling, race leader, and heavy traffic made contact. They both went right to the fence. There's Brandon Sperling getting a look at. He's taking a sit down. He took a hard impact into the wall.
What a shame for Brandon, who for the 2nd week in a row has looked so strong. I mean, he's going to come up just short of a win. And you know, Jim, I have not seen a fire like that in an ASA wreck in a couple of years. And remember Dennis Berry at Toledo.
Yep.
Went into turn 3 and 4, backed it in, ruptured the fuel tank, and the car engulfed in flames, and Dennis was able to climb out. But you don't usually see that. The fuel cell is... let's take a look at this again. All right, now this is a half a lap earlier. Brandon was trying to get around Spa. Remember, Spa was laps down.
Spa was in 19th at the time of the incident.
Now they come through 1 and 2, down the back straightaway. Brandon to the inside.
Top wheels there, and it took the wheel out of Brandon's arms, and boy,
it lit up right away, didn't it? Look at Brandon was already unbuckling and climbing out of the car. Frustrated, then he realizes the flames.
He was going inside of Spa, and Spa had come down the racetrack to protect that line, and you see Spa fighting the wheel as he backed it in the fence. As soon as Johnny hit, apparently a fuel line broke loose in the car, and the fuel cell went with it.
Fortunately, both drivers able to climb out of the car, and the safety crew is now going to work cleaning up the mess. We are under a yellow once again here at the Pontiac Excitement 300. Still cleaning up the incident over in turns 3 and 4 of a big inferno. The back end of Johnny Spa's 03. If you're just tuning in, Johnny Spa and Brandon Sperling involved in an incident in turns 3 and 4 here at Hawkeye Down Speedway. Both drivers are out of the car and okay, but the incident did rupture the fuel cell of the 03. Here's a look at it again.
They're already around. You see Sperling trying to lock down the brakes. Front wheels were locked, and when Johnny hit the wall, that's when the fire started, and Brandon already had the belts undone before the car stopped.
Jim, let's take a look at this from this angle here, too. Brandon gets way down on the apron, and you can see his wheels are turned to the right a little bit. I'm wondering if he got so low on the racetrack that it caused his car to bounce up into Johnny as opposed to Johnny coming down.
And under braking, it looks like he
incidental contact, of
right.
course.
Under braking, he may have lost the rear end with all the load going to the front of the car. When he went inside of Johnny, may have thought the door was shut, wanted to get back out of it, and it was too late.
Let's check in with Dave Burns.
I'm standing by with Johnny Spa, and he was just explaining to me, Johnny, first of all, tell us how you are, and then tell us what happened with the incident.
I'm fine. It's probably the scariest moment I ever had with fire in a race car. Kind of hard to get out of there quick because Brandon Sperling's hood was laying right against my window and I couldn't get out. But Brandon was late in the race, and I was trying to, we were running in a good position. I was trying to stay ahead of him, and I knew I couldn't hold him off, so I gave him the low side coming into 3. I thought I gave him enough room. I drove the car up to the outside at turn 3, and I don't know what happened. We just got together, but I know I didn't come down on him because, when I went into the corner, I drove into the high side, not the low side. But we got together, and I backed her in pretty hard.
Now, Johnny, let me ask you one more thing for the rest of the guys that are competing out there tonight. If anybody knows if there's a second line out there at this track, you would. Is there a second line tonight at all?
Not in the race car I was driving. My late model I run here on Fridays, I can run the outside pretty decent. But it's tougher in these ASA cars. The cars are faster. They don't have as much left side percentage weight as a normal late model, and it's tough to run the outside groove. Plus, not many guys have been up there, so it's all rubber and marbles.
Okay, Johnny's going to be a bit sore, but he did walk away, guys.
That is one crisp race car. As we go to break, let's take one more look at this incident in turn 3. Fortunately, Johnny Spa able to get out of the car and walk away. Scotty Williams is one of the ASA officials who utilizes the Racing Electronics headsets for his communications. And again, this season, you have the opportunity to win a Uniden Bearcat scanner, along with a 1-year Racers Frequency membership from Racing Electronics. Just send your name and address on a postcard to Racing Electronics, Post Office Box 241921, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. And we'll announce the winner during each ASA telecast here on TNN throughout the year. So send in your card today. Now this week's winner is Clara Krasowski from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Enjoy your scanner, Clara, from Racing Electronics. And let's check in with Sandy with Bonnie Sperling.
Now, Ronnie, tell me, you were just with Brandon. How is he doing?
They just told me that he hurt his knee, banged it up a little bit, but he was okay. He just wants to get back and see if he can get his car back out again.
That's great news. Typical race car driver.
I'm just grateful to the Lord that he's okay and that he took care of him.
Well, Ronnie, I'm glad he's okay. And we all know that Brandon is in excellent shape. He works out almost every day, and he's one of those kind of drivers that you can bet he'll be back in the race.
And that makes a big difference, too. He took a hard hit into the wall, and Jim, boy, he had the belts undone and already was undoing the window net before the car even had a chance to really come to a stop. Look out, it scorched the wall, burnt the Pontiac banners.
Well, we mentioned
how amazing inferno down there.
We mentioned how this race has been fairly incident-free. We mentioned 15 cautions last race for 4 or 5 laps each caution. No real heavy impact with the wall. Boy, if I could take that back, I would have, because we've had 2 or 3 incidents tonight that really have been some of the hardest crashes we've seen in a couple of years here in ASA, including the fire on Johnny Spa's 03 car. But looking at that wall, glad to see the drivers are okay, because that fire did rear up a couple of times and the safety crew is trying to put it out.
Kevin Sawinski has found his way into victory lane a couple of times this year, and he now leads the Pontiac Excitement 300. Mike Jaffe is his crew chief. He's standing by with Dave.
And Ralph, as you saw, he was absolutely going backwards before we went to that last caution. And Mike, what was the problem with the car, and did right side tires simply fix it?
We just put right side tires on right now. We'll find out. I guess basically the right rear tire was worn out. The car was really good. Kevin did just a super job of getting the Tecumseh Motorsports Pontiac up through traffic from our qualifying spot there, and the crew chief, I guess, just decided to try to get a little cute and do something I saw Bob Senecker do a bunch of times, and take lefts, then rights. We'll just have to see if it works. I guess right now we got a 50-lap fresher right side tires on than Gary does.
With track position being so important tonight, are you guys done pitting for the most part? If the set's good?
Yeah, if the set's good, we won't be back in.
All right, Kevin Sawinski finally up to the front after starting 19th today.
Let's take a look at the top 10 here, the Pontiac Excitement 300. Well, Hansen, he's bounced back into this thing. Holzhausen has slipped back to the back end of this top 10. But most of these cars, Jim, we've seen in and around this top 10 throughout the course of the night. There's one car not in this group right now, and that is Mike Eddy. He is 12th. He's worked his way back up into this thing from 19th, but he's still one lap down. He is a very quick race car, and I think, Jim, if he can get back on the lead lap, he could be in this mix.
And Kevin Noodleman did lead for a short time under caution, then he had to be sent back around, so he is actually the final car in lead lap, just ahead of Mike Eddy on this single file restart. There are, I believe, 12 cars on lead lap. Mike, I think, is 13th, one lap down, and again, that's unofficially off of we have to go by, but Sawinski takes back the point. He gets those 5 points for leading, and we'll have to see if they can battle it out to the finish to see who leads the most laps. That's 5 valuable points as we're heading down to the end of this AC-Delco Challenge Series season.
And his girlfriend keeps her fingers crossed, hoping her man can bring home another victory here tonight. The Pontiac Excitement 300. We'll be right back to Hawkeye Downs right after this. We're back to the Pontiac Excitement 300 at Hawkeye Downs Speedway in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, live tonight on TNN Motorsports. 17th round of the 20-race season for the AC-Delco Challenge Series. We're watching the fight up front. The black number 1 at Kevin Sawinski is your leader. Gary St. Amant runs in second. Scott Hansen up to third. He's a player once again, Jim.
I've been waiting to say this all night, Ralph. It's come to fruition. The top 3 in points are running nose to tail right now at the head of the field. Last race here in July, Kevin Sawinski won. Scott Hansen was second. Gary St. Amant was third. They also qualified top 3 in that race. So the top 3 in points right now started and finished the race here in July. We'll see if that indeed repeats itself tonight.
And the man who set a new track record and started on the pole tonight, Steve Carlson, in that 87 car, runs in fourth, challenging for third on the inside of Hansen. Side by side out of 2 and down the back straightaway with Mike Miller right on their tail. Look at him squirt through the middle of the turn.
Carlson's spoiling it for me. I had this moment planned for the top 3 to get up there, and Carlson, with as fast of a car he has tonight, he's had an outstanding run at that clean burn Trop Arctic Pontiac.
And Mike Miller trying to fight his way past Hansen as well to take over 4th position. He'll do it. The old Milwaukee car picks up a slot. Smokestad down to 32 gets his nose in there. Hansen, Dave Burns, looks pretty good again.
And they think that they've got the right setup for the end of the race, even though he just dropped back a couple of positions. When he did so well here in July, as Jim mentioned, they had made their last pit stop on lap 186. When we went back to green, it was lap 208. So they're well within their pre-planned window.
Well, Brandon Sperling had a great night up until that fiery crash. He had led 59 laps, Andy.
Brandon, can you tell us, how are you?
I'm all right.
It's okay. I saw you arguing over there with the ASA officials. What was that all about?
I came into the corner. I was lapping the number 3 car, and I drove it in real hard. I felt something break on the right front, and I had no control from there. I got into Spa, and then I was just on for the ride into the wall.
Now, you were arguing with ASA. What was that all about?
Because the car's hurt, but it's not hurt so bad that we can't go get back out and get some points. And they won't bring it back into the infield so my guys can work on it. They got it on the outside the track. So we got to wait for another yellow. Hopefully they can get it across the track and we can get truck air transfer some more exposure.
Okay, well, that's Brandon Sperling, typical Brandon Sperling. He wants to get back out on the track.
That's a young man, Jim, that if this team stays together and gets some more funding like they seem to think they have a real strong shot at, he could be a challenger, not just for a win in 98, but for a championship chance as well.
Well, it turns his chance to climb in the top 10 in points. He was well within that reach, and especially with the run and the surges he's had, he was 12th in points. Could have gained, because of some of the teams that had problems. Bob Seneca, 7th in points, already out of the race. Looking at some other drivers that have had some problems. Tom Jones for the first car out of the event. Brad Loney crashed earlier, the hometown favorite. Will end up 27th on the evening. Joe Knott called it a night early, as did Billy Turner and Doug Mayer. So that, actually Doug Mayer's back out doing some laps, as is Billy Turner, but they're many, many laps down in the serial.
We've got the top 6 cars all fighting it out for the lead right now in a freight train. It begins with Kevin Sawinski and ends with Rick Beebe. With Beebe tagging on, that makes 7 cars now in that line. If Holzhausen can catch him, that's the top 8.
Sawinski went down the middle of the front straightaway and went to the inside in turn 1, as he, of course, has lead position, can run whatever line he wants and make the other drivers pass where they may. But Gary St. Amant had a real strong look to the inside.
Less than 100 laps to go here in the Pontiac Excitement 300 as we work lap 219.
Again, Sawinski shuts the door. Carlson there in third. Fourth is Mike Miller. Fifth, Scott Hansen. Boy, Gary St. Amant has run every race here and finished in the top 10 of every one of those races. However, he has not found victory lane. He's finished third here twice.
Well, he's having a great run tonight, Jim, but the problem is the man that he needs to beat is leading. So even if Gary comes home in second with Sawinski leading this thing, he's not going to make up any ground in the points championship, which he desperately needs to do. Who runs in third is pretty much going to lock up the Pat Shaw Rookie of the Year award, with Tim Sauter losing his ride in the 55, which stunned so many of us in the ASA family. That award is pretty much going to be Carlson's. Now the question is, according to Howie Letta, where do they finish in the point standings? Right now they are 6th. They'd like to see a top 5, maybe a top 3 finish with 97 points.
Leaders have just gone by Tim Sauter, who's driving Alec Pinson's number 93. If you've just joined the broadcast, he filled in for Alec because Alec is recovering from some soreness from last race. Had a practice crash and flipped the car over at I-70 and continued on with a backup car last race. But Alec has decided to put Tim Sauter in the car, who went to Windsor, Ontario to work the details out for this event. But he has had some problems early on and soldiers on now as the leaders have already gone by.
Tim says, according to Alec, the chances are pretty good that Tim will be driving this car for the rest of the season. Let's take a look all the way back through the field. Here is Sawinski. He is your race leader. Behind him, Gary St. Amant. They are 1 and 2 in the race and 1 and 2 in the point standings. And then Carlson in the 87. He is your Rookie of the Year leader and the man who started this race on the pole. Mike Miller in the 18. He runs in 4th position.
And Mike Miller had some problems with the ignitions. He had 4 laps of practice. They had 2.5 hours, which is more than they usually get on a one-day show. The old Milwaukee team had ignition problems last race at I-70. They come into this race, they had 4 laps of practice. He was the last car to qualify and turned off a good enough lap to qualify top 20.
Scott Hansen's had some problems with tires tonight, but he has got his car rolling once again, and the Schrader Racing entry is up to 5th. Hansen doing a great job. Ted Smokestad coming on strong here as well in the Build-A-Mold car. This young driver is up to 6th position here tonight with Rick Beebe right on his tail in the 23 car. Holzhausen in the House Lubricator number 5. He feels like his team is finally where they should have been at the beginning of the season. Looking pretty good here tonight as he runs in 8th, looking for a top 10. Mike Eddy's a lap down, Jim. He is currently 12th in the race, but definitely one of the quickest cars on the racetrack.
All the cars following leader Kevin Sawinski right now that comes to Motorsports number 1 are lead lap. These guys are racing for the lead of the race. 8 cars make that 9 cars with Mike Eddy involved are all going for the point.
We'll make our way back through the rest of the field here as we pick up once again with Mike Garvey in the 8 car. Mike right now sits in 9th position, and he's got Dave Sensiba on him and into his left rear quarter panel. Sensiba a lap down, running in 13th position in the West Michigan number 6. Harold Fair out of Detroit, Michigan in the 81 car.
He's had a strong run. He's in the 10th position now. It's where he lies in the points, but that really has been the telltale story.
Fight for the lead as Gary St. Amant comes inside of Sawinski. Down through 3 and 4. Rubbing some fenders too as they come off of 4. That'll bring this crowd to its feet. And Gary will power on past as they come off of turn number 2. Carlson couldn't get under him as well.
Sawinski went from 2nd back to 10th earlier in the race because he was left on the high side. The high side has come in with the lap traffic, forcing the lead lap cars to the outside. But Sawinski, if you notice on that pass, stuck right behind the Wynn Chevrolet to maintain that single line behind the race leader. He gave up the lead for now, but he did not lose a number of positions by staying out on the outside too long for Carlson to get that shot on the inside.
Gary St. Amant had seen the point earlier tonight.
3rd different time he has led this event.
And we'll We'll pick up with our pan back as well. We left this last with Harold Fair, who is running in 10th, and you see just behind him the white, red, and blue number 55 of Bobby Gill. He runs in 11th. He is as well on the lead lap.
Bobby Gill stepped into this ride at Milwaukee. He finished in the 7th position, I believe, and then he came back a week later in the 55 car and finished up in 19th at I-70, but was running strong and had a Panhard bar break, but he's been extremely quick. Of course, he won an ASA race at the Minnesota State Fair in 1996.
He works outside of Fair, and we'll look back to find Carroll Adamy in the 92 car, the Dorothy Lynch University Nebraska car. He's making his way towards pit road. He is fighting with Jack Landis. There is Landis, who runs 14th. Carroll Adamy runs 24th. And behind Jack comes Jimmy Johnson, the young driver that the folks at Chevrolet hoping to see great things out of in the future of ASA racing. He runs 15th tonight, one lap down, and the battle for 4th begins to heat up.
Cars are spreading out just a bit. Gary Santamont leads this pack off of turn number 4. But here we see Scott Hansen getting around Steve Carlson for the 4th spot.
They work around Noodleman. Noodleman runs 16th in the Citgo 21. And Hansen passes him cleanly on the outside. 239 laps completed here. The scheduled 300. The Pontiac Excitement continues on TNN Motorsports right after this. Gary Santamont continues to lead the Pontiac Excitement 300 from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The Hawkeye Down Speedway, the only paved half mile in the entire state of Iowa. In fact, there's not many paved racetracks in the entire state of Iowa. Mike Miller runs in 2nd. He desperately needs a top 5 here tonight, Dave.
Ralph, he's very impressive. He passed Scott Hansen, he passed Kevin Sawinski, he passed Steve Carlson. And for a guy with no resources coming into tonight's race, they were very fortunate to have on their shelf a brand new freshened motor from Carl Wegner, because that is what they dropped into the engine bay earlier today. Jim mentioned he got very little practice, and it's that has been powering him all the way up to 2nd here in the Pontiac Excitement 300.
Has 6 wins in his career. He's still going to try to run a Winston Cup race at the end of the season in his hometown in Atlanta. In fact, he was telling me earlier today that he plans on shaking his Cup car down at the Charlotte Motor Speedway earlier this week. Coming up, I think Tuesday night he's going to be out there testing.
And he failed to qualify in the March race in Atlanta in the 08.
Now, I saw a puff of smoke out of the back of the 18 down in 1 and 2, and let's keep an eye on that and see if that's a problem or just maybe a little leak. Kevin Sawinski runs in 3rd right now with Scott Hansen behind him. Kevin also has 6 career wins, 3 of them coming this season.
Classic Mike Miller. He made the pass on Sawinski and Hansen on the inside. Now Hansen's trying to do the same on Sawinski to drop him back to 4th. Hansen is yet to finish out of the top 10 in the 5 races run to date here at Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Hansen got a win on Labor Day Monday at the Minnesota State Fair. 11 cars still on the lead lap. They've had 5 leaders and 6 lead changes and a pass for position here as Hansen tries to get inside of Sawinski. 7 cautions. Last time we were at 15, so we're hopefully going to stay away from that record.
Keep in mind that last race at I-70 Speedway, a lot of things busted loose in the final 40 or 50 laps. We're far from the finish here. 46 laps now from the finish.
That fight settles out now as Hansen takes over. Winston Cup star Kenny Schrader, the owner of the number 52. Car and crew work out of Schrader Racing Shops in Concord, North Carolina, where all of Kenny's NASCAR trucks and Southwest Tour cars and all the stuff that he plays with when he's not racing for Andy Petrie. Fight for 5th going on behind him. Carlson holds the spot in the 87 car. Maybe not for long. Here comes Smokestad on the outside.
Steve Carlson's lost a lot of ground. He's been able to hold the car on the bottom, but you see that Smokestad is faster up top in the trim class. 32.
Carlson good in the middle of the turn, able to get back in the throttle and lurch forward, but not coming off in the corner as Smokestadt now pulls past. Just 43 laps to go here at the Pontiac Excitement 300. As this one continues to work its way towards its completion, we'll take care of some more business so we can bring you as many green flag laps as we can at the back end of this one. Gary St. Amant continues to lead over Mike Miller. We are back to the Pontiac Excitement 300, the AC-Delco Challenge Series, coming to you live tonight on TNN, the leader in live coverage of the American Speed Association. And Gary St. Amant continues to lead as he puts a lap on Billy Turner. Now, Mike Miller is starting to catch up to him pretty good, Jim. And we saw some smoke out of the back of the 18 a couple of laps ago. There it is again. Did you see that puff? Right in the middle of the corner. When he gets back into the gas, it kicks a little smoke out the back.
And a telltale sign of an oil leak or some problem with the oiling system, because the oil reservoir is held in the back of the car, will be a little black specks in the back of the car underneath the spoiler. We don't see that, so it may be coming from the engine compartment.
Here it is again. Every time he lifts off the gas going into the turn, watch as he goes down into 3 and 4. Right in the middle of the corner, when he gets back into the throttle, it'll puff. Right there.
He's chasing down and catching Gary St. Amant here. St. Amant leading the race. Mike Miller already has 2 wins this season. St. Amant has 3 victories.
Well, he's all over Gary, isn't he? And he's quick in the middle of the turn. You see how he caught right up on him? Here's 6th, 7th, and 8th having at it. Actually, Mike Eddy is in 12th in the 88 car. Carlson is 6th. Beebe is 7th, and Holzhausen is 8th. So it's the 87, the 23, and the 5 that you're watching for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Eddy in the 88 car is in 12th. Still a lap down, Jim, and we've got Gary St. Amant around in turn 4. He spins in turn number 4. We are under yellow once again. No idea what it was that brought Gary around.
He will not be sent to the back of the field. He'll blend in. He did spin and keep the car going, so he'll get whatever position he's running in now. But he may even elect to pit because he have flat spotted some tires. The last time he came down pit lane was lap 200. We're now 33 circuits in the end of it. He may have had a tire going down.
He's checking it. You can see him swerving the car back and forth to see if he can feel anything.
Pits are closed this time by, so he has 1 more lap to talk it over with Bud Gavin, Bud St. Amant, and crew chief Mike Sinitko. This wins West Michigan Chevrolet dealer Chevy.
Just watch this again. That's Mike Miller behind him going into turn 3. You can see it kicking out on him. Mike Miller does a good job of getting to the bottom and around him to take the lead. And Jack Landis did a great job at not taking it off.
Speculation that maybe the brakes locked up for just a brief second. Going into the corner, you use quite a bit of braking. You roll through. It was after the braking point, but for some reason the car wanted to go to the right.
Yes, but the only reason why I would question that is because he was swerving the car back and forth, wondering if that to me would mean more like he was checking a tire.
We'll find out.
Yes, we will.
Gary is on pit lane.
Dave Burns is there.
And it looks like they're going to go to the right side of the car. Mike Sinetko is already ready with the jack. Actually, that's not Mike. Jack man goes to the right side. They're going to change right side tires. And the window net had come down on Gary St. Amant's car. They're now working to get that window net replaced. That's happened to Gary before, and it's very disconcerting. He's beaten out of the pits by Steve Carlson, and now St. Amant will be down and away.
It's also something that's not very good in the rule book. You got to have the window net up.
For obvious reasons, safety being the first. And with his spin there, boy, he's mighty lucky no one got into him, because the contact could have been a whole lot worse. You see the window net now back up. For a while, he'd been running a window net that was nearly clear to see through, but now he's gone back to the thicker stitching on the window net of his Chevrolet.
Mike Miller desperately needed a top 5 to get enough money to keep racing with the ASA. He leads it. 30 to go. The battle for the lead of the Pontiac Excitement 300 now begins with Mike Miller in the red and white 18 and Scott Hansen in the white and blue number 52. The Pontiac leads the Chevrolet 200 274 laps completed of the scheduled 300. And there is Gary St. Amand in the number 7 car. He is up to 8th position, and he's got Steve Holzhausen behind him and Steve Carlson in front of him. He was the leader who brought out this last yellow after spinning in turns 3 and 4. Trying to get inside of Carlson. Jimmy Johnson just in front of him on the very bottom of the apron of the racetrack. Johnson's making his way down pit road. He was 14th before pitting. Gary saw the opening that he was hoping for go away quickly.
And they streak past Dave Sensibo, who's had an awfully strong car throughout the entire season, just to tick off, not coming in the pit, cost him that much on the racetrack. He was a lap down, let to stay on the racetrack, but he's see what fresh tires can do with these ASA machines.
Sensibo down 12.
Again, these cars did make a pit stop. They have Bobby Gill directly ahead of them. Gill is in 6th. No lap cars between the cars with fresher tires here, these 3 cars, and Gill now just getting out of the frame there.
Like it's really sliding in the corners, doesn't it?
Doesn't seem to be exactly right for Gary's liking. They did change the right side tires on this Win Chevrolet.
Really seemed to slide it into 1 and 2 on the last lap.
Still curious to see if it's not a steering problem or perhaps a trailing arm might have come loose where it gives an inconsistent feel to the car, and that's what may have cost Gary a spin and the win.
Championship as well. He now runs in 8th. Sawinski, the point leader, is 3rd. If he'd have hung on and won this, he would have picked up some points, not a ton, because Kevin's having a good night as well, but every point helps at this stage of the game.
Sawinski finished 15th. Last race, that was the only race out of the top 10 in finishes. Gary's had some overheating problems at Kenley. Just a few little gremlins have bit Gary St. Amand's run. His best season ever in ASA. Lost the motor at Kaukauna, Wisconsin, back on July 4th, and really has had a stellar season, worthy of a championship, but Sawinski's been so good. Mike Chappie and the crew based in Lakeville, Minnesota. Together one heck of a season. St. Amand now leading Steve Holzhausen. Holzhausen in the ride. That was a championship ride in 1995 for Brian Reffner. How lubricator coming on the Finetti Motorsports 5 with Steve Holzhausen taking over the controls. Running the full season, but yet to lead a lap is Holzhausen, and Gary already has 3 wins this season.
Steve has not had many top 10s this year, and he right now is sitting in a 9th place finish position. He looks to be pretty quick fighting with Gary St. Amand here. He might be able to pick off the number 7.
One last note on Sawinski. If he's able to hang on to a top 10 finish, it'd be the 16th in any ASA season. That ties the record. So consistency and preparation paying off. Gary having slight problems spinning while leading here tonight. Also leading all those laps early in the season. 224 of 300 laps at Pensacola, Florida.
Carlson gets around Bobby Gill. That's for position. That will give Steve Carlson 6th position. Slide Bobby Gill on the 55 back a slot to 7th. And now he'll have to deal with Gary St. Amand behind him.
Bobby Gill and his crew chief Terry Evans made the call to stay out on the racetrack. We see now that Steve Carlson, who made a pit stop under our most recent caution, came back and got the 6th position. Now, the top 5 cars ahead of Carlson have broken away enough where he might not have enough laps left with 13 circuits remaining to chase him down. So I believe the right call was made for the cars that were very good at that point in the race to stay out. Carlson drifted back to the 8th position, needed a pit stop, made it, now has come back to 6th.
Steve Carlson, the winner at Peach State Speedway in Jefferson, Georgia earlier this year. Holzhausen and Gary St. Amand. Fight for 8, 7, and 5. Right up on the backside of him is Holzhausen.
These drivers were hoping to close the gap a bit. They've only closed about a second on the drivers that have elected not to pit, running in the top 5. St. Amand runs in 8th. Holzhausen in 9th in the 5 car. the Pontiac Excitement 300 at I-70 Speedway last year. This is the Pontiac Excitement 300 coming from Hawkeye Downs when it's a Pontiac race, and he's driving that Pontiac. This may, I believe, be the third time he's won a Pontiac-sponsored event if he can hang on for these final 9 laps.
Sawinski, Smokestad, and Beebe, they fight 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. Kevin Sawinski, the black number 1, Ted Smokestad, the white, red, and blue number 32, and the yellow and purple 23 of Rick Beebe. Sawinski, Jim, we were all a little concerned last week if the incident at I-70 was just going to be a hiccup in his chase for the championship, or if this was a point in the season where the Tecumseh crew was finally going to start to see a streak of bad luck. It seems to be tonight that maybe it was just a hiccup.
Certainly is. He's come back with a vengeance and led on one occasion tonight, picking up those 5 bonus points for leading a lap. Now he's leading Ted Smokestad. Smokestad's had a strong run tonight. He's currently in the 4th position, right behind Sawinski here, as we see his impressive run. 15 top 10s and 17 starts. 17th being tonight. It could be his 16th top 10 if he can survive nudges like that from Smokestad.
Just 5 laps to go next time by. And what a story this could be for Mike Miller. Just a week ago, after blowing up an engine at I-70 Speedway, Mike Miller climbed out of the car and told the crowd that that was his last race. He was out of money. Finds enough money from the folks at Old Milwaukee to get in one more race. And Mike Miller, able to find another engine on the shelf, is just a couple laps away from winning the Pontiac Excitement 300. And I bet you we get to see Mike Miller race again before the 97 ASA season is completed.
What I'm fearful of is the hug he's going to get from his crew chief. This is a big man. Carl Highland, if he comes over there, Mike Miller's not the biggest guy in the world. I'm afraid that embrace might cost him some injuries, because you can tell how intense Carl is and how great a win it would be for a team that may have not have been here without Old Milwaukee's help.
Carl said he has replaced everything on this car twice, sometimes 3 times, and Kevin Sawinski into the wall. Hard in turn 3. Ted Smokestad spins around as well. Maybe, Jim, it wasn't just a hiccup. Kevin Sawinski sees his night come to a close on the wall in turn 3. He was running well inside the top 5 in 5th position at the time, and he now ends the night up against the wall. Gary St. Amant is running in 6th. Even though he's not going to win tonight, Jim, he is going to pick up a lot of points since Sawinski is all the way back up against the wall.
May finish about 15th or somewhere in there, so valuable points being picked up by Gary St. Amant.
Janet, who is one of Kevin's biggest fans, dresses up like a bee every race, sharing the frustration with her favorite driver.
Hard impact in turn number 3, and he went flying into the wall, and good to see Kevin climbing out of the car.
He is okay, but very, very frustrated. The Tecumseh number 1, Kevin Sawinski, up against the wall. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your select GM Goodwrench Service Plus dealers. The plus means better. A wild turn of events here in the final stages of the Pontiac Excitement 300, coming to you live tonight on TNN Motorsports from Hawkeye Downs Speedway. We are under yellow once again as Kevin Sawinski, the points leader, is now up against the wall. He has climbed out of the car okay, but the number 1 is done for the night. Let's take a look at this replay. Ted Smokestad in the 32 is who he was racing for. This was a fight for 3rd, Jim.
Going into turn number 3, Sawinski was going down to the inside of the track. Smokestad gave him a nudge in the buildable Pontiac, and look how hard he hits here. Boom.
Look at the reaction from the crowd. Large contingent of Sawinski fans who stake out their corner here. Kevin Sawinski's night is done, Dave.
Yep, and turn 3 has been a rough place tonight to be driving an ASA car. Kevin, first tell us your condition and then what happened out there.
Well, we're fine. You know, it was getting close to the end of the race, and I guess 32 car just got a little anxious. He could run with me down here in 3 and 4, but that was the only place on the track, so I guess maybe he just wanted it a little worse than I did.
Now compare that to how hard that Gary ran you earlier, and yet you gave him just a little room, but you never let him quite get by you till later.
Yeah, me and Gary ran a lot of laps together all season this year, and we got a lot of respect for each other, and we give each other a lane, and we know where we can take each other and where we can, really lean on each other. And getting into a corner definitely ain't some place where you can lean on a left or a quarter.
All right, Kevin's going to walk away from this, and they're going to have to buck up and run these last 3 races after tonight, try to win this championship, guys.
Well, Jim, our crack statistician, Torch over here, has already worked his pencil into a tizzy over here, and we have found out that if things finish the way they are, if Gary finishes in 6th, we figure with 2 laps to go, Sawinski could slip as far back as 15th. That would be a swing of some 40 points. They would leave here tonight 145 points apart with 3 races to go. Now, under this yellow, with the field stacked back up again, it's possible that Gary might even pick up a spot or 2, get Bobby Gill or get Steve Carlson. It might be even less than that.
And keep in mind, Gary did pit on the final caution before this, so he's got fresher tires, and he wasn't gaining ground under green, but under this caution, he'll start right behind the 4 cars that did not pit.
One other thing to remember as we go to commercial break here, the ASA will always run their last 5 laps green. We will not, I repeat, not finish under yellow. Pontiac Excitement 300 coming down to a wild finish here at Hawkeye Down Speedway. Ralph Shaheen, Jim Trado, Sandy Hang, and Dave Burns with you as we bring this one to a close with just 2 laps to go. Now again, if this race gets started, well, let me tell you this first. A commercial transportation for this telecast has been provided by Ryder, official transportation company for Opryland. This race gets started and goes green and we get another yellow, we'll just wait around and go green again. We will finish it under green as Mike Miller brings him to the line, and we're back at it. Hansen right behind him. Oh, and Mike Miller smoking horribly through 1 and 2.
He popped going to turn number 3 on his fast restart. Hansen unable to gain control, and now he goes to the inside of the 18 car.
Dives to the bottom as they go through 3 and 4. Hansen, the winner in Minneapolis, comes inside, and they're banging all the way up the front straightaway. 2 veterans of the ASA short track wars going at it. The smoke continues to billow out of the back of Mike Miller's car. Who needs it more? Mike Miller racing for the paycheck, so desperately out of money. Needs the win to continue in 97. Hansen trying to get his 2nd win of the season. Here comes Carlson. The win goes to Hansen. He gets spun. Goes up over the banking. And will finish victoriously, staying off the wall. For great short track stock car racing.
Unbelievable finish. Hansen and Carlson trying to get the win away from Mike Miller.
Carlson is into the wall. Mike Miller so desperately needed a top 5 finish so he could continue racing. He'll get credited, it looks like, with 3rd. I believe Carlson is going to get 2nd, Jim.
There was a photo finish for that 2nd spot as Hansen pushed wide up a turn 4 to hold off Mike Miller. Carlson jetted up the inside to make it a 3-wide finish.
If you're a fan of short track stock car racing, welcome to the best series going. The American Speed Association has done it again, putting on one of the best shows you'll find anywhere. Nub up, Scott, nub up. You betcha. A lot of cheers go for this one. We'll be back for more to talk to our winner of the Pontiac Excitement 300 right after this.
Holtzhausen.
Mike Eddy. Wow, what an unbelievable finish to the Pontiac Excitement 300 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Scott Hansen comes across the line to take the win on a green-white checkered dash to the finish. 3 wide as they came across the line. Steve Carlson in the 87 car, who started on the pole, gets credited for second, and it was a photo finish. Watch this.
Hansen protecting the outside. Carlson coming up the inside, and Hansen cuts down to stop his effort right as they cross the line.
He almost got upside down right there as he went sliding over the bank. There goes Carlson backing into the wall, and Scott just keeps it off the wall. Here's another look at it.
Down the front stretch, Mike Miller is out of racetrack and out of traction. Hansen comes to the inside to protect the inside line as he saw Carlson to the bottom. Then they made some contact here after the race was over.
Jim, I got to wonder, as you look at Hansen go flying through the night sky there, Mike Miller developed that big puff of smoke. It wasn't bad in the early stages. As we went into the later situation there, we had to spend all those laps going around. It got worse, and it really hindered him in the restart. Had he not had that, he might have had the oomph he needed to stay out in front of the winner, Scott Hansen. Let's meet him, Dave.
Scott, unbelievable victory, and the last 2 laps, so much happened. I mean, just take us from out of turn 4 on the last lap, the white flag lap, down into turn 1 where he almost turned it over.
Well, I'll tell you, something was going wrong with Mike's car the last 10 laps or so. He was leaking. That's how Kevin ended up wrecking real bad over there. But, he slipped up a little, and I went in there, and, I had to get on the gas. He had actually a better run coming off there, and we got together a little bit, and somebody got underneath me. I don't know who it was, but I'll tell you what, the baby turned around in a hurry, and they told me over the radios we won the deal. So got to thank Kenny, everybody at Schrader Racing, and, they took a chance on us. We really started out slow this year, and I'll tell you, we're having a lot of fun right now.
You hit hard after the finish of the race. Are you okay?
Yeah, I jammed my back a little bit when we come down off the jump over there, but we'll be all right. We're going to celebrate a little bit tonight, and see you guys back in Charlotte Sunday afternoon.
Somehow I think Scott Hansen will cool that bad back just a bit tonight as those guys celebrate in victory lane.
The winning move here tonight is going to go to Steve Holzhausen, driver of the number 5 Howes Lubricator Finetti Motorsports car. He comes home in 7th tonight, Jim, and they feel like they have turned some things around. It really showed here tonight. Solid effort by Steve Holzhausen and King.
Keeps the top 10 string intact here at Hawkeye Down Speedway. More importantly, it's his 4th top 10 finish and 2nd in a row for 1997, so the team wants to end on a good swing with the Howes Lubricator team. They overcame some difficulties tonight and really had a strong run, ending up in the 7th spot this evening.
There is Steve in the white and purple driver suit, the winner of our winning move here tonight. Here's a look at the top 10. Gary St. Amant came home in 6th. Kevin Sawinski, the points leader, came home in 14th after ending his night up against the wall with just 2 laps to go. The difference, according to Torch, our worldwide famous statistician, is now 149 points as we head in to the last 3 races of the AC-Delco Challenge Series for 1997, all 3 of which you will see live right here on TNM Motorsports beginning next weekend at Jennerstown Speedway. What an unbelievable finish to the Pontiac Excitement 300. Two-way communications equipment for the AC-Delco Challenge Series is provided by Racing Electronics, the official communications of the ASA. For Jim Trado, Dave Burns, and Sandy Hang, I'm Ralph Sheen. So long from Cedar Rapids. We'll see you next week at Jennerstown.
The Pontiac Excitement 300, brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that anything can happen at Miller time. Race fans, you make the call. New LCI residential long-distance customers receive 30 minutes of free domestic calling and the World Card Plus calling card featuring participating drivers. Don't delay. Call now 1-888-TEAM-LCI. Subscribe to Stock Car Racing Magazine at the low introductory price of $14.97. Call toll-free 1-888-9-STOCK-CAR. Save 68%. Toll-free 1-888-9-STOCK-CAR. Lighting for tonight's event provided by Musco International. Drivers, race teams, and race fans. Visit, experience, shop Simpson World, a racer and race fan superstore featuring the complete line of Simpson safety products, plus the latest fan merchandise and collectibles. Now open in Mooresville, North Carolina, Torrance, California, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Go behind the scenes with Ernie Irvin in the exclusive video documenting his triumphant return to racing. Gladiator and Universal Luxury Vans, the official van of tracks, teams, and drivers throughout the NASCAR world. Call 1-800-445-2825 for a dealer near you.
writing the script down.
Association. ASA Racing is produced for television by Silver Fox Sports, Charlotte, North Carolina.